A brutal mafia boss who burned entire organizations for betrayals dropped to his knees before a broke waitress and begged her to marry him because she was the only person in his blood-soaked empire who refused to fear him. What happened when she said yes changed everything. If you want to know how a single rainy night turned a dying woman into a queen and a monster into a man, stay until the end. Like this video and comment which city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Rain hammered the cracked pavement outside Luciana's upscale restaurant like bullets hitting concrete. Serena Vale pushed through the heavy glass door at exactly 11:43 p.m., 6 hours past when her shift should have ended, her body screaming exhaustion into every joint. 26 years old, broke, alone, running on fumes. Her black waitress uniform reeked of kitchen grease and spilled wine. The left shoe had split clean through the sole 2 weeks ago. She'd patched it with duct tape because buying new ones meant her younger brother Ethan didn't eat that week. Serena pulled her threadbare jacket tighter against the cold and started walking toward the bus stop 4 blocks away. The street was empty, dark, the kind of neighborhood where expensive restaurants pretended poverty didn't exist 3 blocks over. That was when she noticed the car. A black luxury sedan sat beneath the flickering streetlight like a predator waiting for prey. The paint job alone probably cost more than Serena made in 6 months. Tinted windows, engine idling, wrong for this street, wrong for this time of night. Serena's exhausted brain registered danger half a second too late. A man stepped out from the passenger side, 6'5", built like a concrete wall, wearing a suit that screamed private security. He turned those cold professional eyes on Serena and jerked his chin toward the opposite direction. Keep walking. Serena stopped. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was 26 years of getting ordered around by men who thought she was furniture. Maybe she was just too damn tired to be afraid anymore. Excuse me? The bodyguard's expression didn't change. I said keep walking. This street's closed. Closed? Serena's laugh came out sharp and bitter. By who? You? Yes? Something in his tone made Serena's spine stiffen. She was soaking wet, freezing, running on 4 hours of sleep, and this man, this stranger, thought he could just order her around like she didn't exist. I work here, Serena snapped. I've been standing for 9 hours straight serving people who don't bother learning my name. I'm going to the bus stop. You want to stop me? Try. The bodyguard blinked. Then the rear door of the sedan opened. Serena's breath caught. A man stepped out into the rain like he owned the storm itself. Early 30s, tall, impossibly composed despite the downpour soaking his tailored charcoal suit. Black hair slicked back from a face carved from sharp angles and shadows. Eyes so dark they looked like polished obsidian, cold, calculating, sharp enough to cut through lies and bone with equal efficiency. The kind of man the city whispered about in back rooms and dark alleys. The kind of man whose name you didn't say too loud. Lucien Moretti. Serena didn't know his name yet, but her body understood danger before her brain caught up. Every instinct screamed at her to run. She didn't move. Lucien studied her for exactly 3 seconds. In that time, Serena felt him catalog everything, her soaked uniform, her broken shoes, the bone-deep exhaustion carved into her posture, the defiance still burning in her eyes despite everything trying to crush it. When Lucien spoke, his voice was quiet, controlled, lethal. Get in the car. No. The bodyguard tensed. Lucien's expression didn't change. You're freezing, Lucien said, soaking wet. The last bus left 20 minutes ago. He tilted his head slightly. Get in the car. I'll take you home. Serena's heart slammed against her ribs. I don't know you. No, you don't. Then why would I get in your car? Something flickered across Lucien's face, too fast to identify. Because you're exhausted. Because your feet hurt. Because you've been standing all night and no one bothered to notice. He paused. And because if I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't ask permission first. The brutal honesty punched through Serena's defenses harder than charm ever could. She should run. She should scream. She should do anything except stand there staring at this dangerous stranger who somehow knew too much already. Instead, Serena heard herself ask, "What do you want from me?" Lucien's dark eyes locked onto hers. nothing you're not willing to give. Before Serena could respond, Lucian shrugged out of his suit jacket and stepped forward. Serena flinched. Lucian stopped immediately. He held the jacket out at arm's length, steam rising from the expensive fabric in the cold rain. "You're shivering." He was right. Serena's entire body shook from cold and adrenaline and exhaustion. Slowly, so slowly Serena could have stopped him at any moment, Lucian draped the jacket across her shoulders. The warmth hit her like a drug. Cedar. Smoke. Something darker underneath. The jacket weighed more than her entire wardrobe combined and smelled like money and danger, and things Serena would never touch in her ordinary life. Lucian stepped back. "The offer stands. I can take you home, or I can leave you here." His voice dropped lower. "Your choice, Serena." Serena's blood turned to ice. "How do you know my name?" Lucian nodded toward the restaurant behind them. "Your name tag." Serena glanced down. The cheap plastic badge pinned to her uniform read, "Serena" in faded letters. She looked back up. Lucien was already walking toward the car. He stopped at the open door and glanced back over his shoulder. Rain ran down his face like tears. "I won't ask twice." Serena's rational brain screamed at her to refuse, but her exhausted, freezing, desperate body won the fight. She walked toward the car. The bodyguard opened the door wider. Serena slid into the back seat, sinking into leather so soft it felt obscene. The door shut with a sound like a vault ceiling. Lucien climbed in beside her. The partition between the front and back seats was already up, solid, soundproof. The bodyguard got into the driver's seat. The car pulled away from the curb without a word. Serena pressed herself against the opposite door. Lucien didn't move. He sat perfectly still, hands folded in his lap, watching her like a scientist observing a rare specimen. "Where do you live?" he asked quietly. Serena rattled off her address before thinking. A crumbling apartment building 15 minutes away in the part of town where luxury cars didn't go. Lucian relayed the address to the driver without breaking eye contact. Silence filled the car. Serena's heart hammered so loud she was certain Lucian could hear it. She clutched his jacket tighter around her shoulders, hating how good the warmth felt, hating the part of her that didn't want to give it back. "You're not afraid," Lucien said suddenly. Serena's laugh came out shaky. "I'm terrified." "But you got in the car anyway." "I'm too tired to be smart." Something that might have been amusement flickered across Lucian's face. "When was the last time you ate?" The question caught Serena off guard. "What?" "Food. When did you last have a meal?" Serena's jaw tightened. "This morning." "Liar." Serena glared at him. "Excuse me?" "Your hands are shaking, not from cold, from low blood sugar." Lucian's voice remained perfectly calm. "You skipped lunch. Probably breakfast, too. You've been running on coffee and adrenaline all day." "I'm fine." "You're starving." "I'm managing." "No?" Lucien leaned forward slightly. "You're surviving. There's a difference." Serena's throat tightened. She turned away, staring out the rain-streaked window at the blurred city lights. "Why do you care?" Lucien didn't answer immediately. When Serena finally looked back, she found him still watching her with that unsettling intensity. "I don't know yet," he admitted. The honesty in his voice shook something loose inside Serena's chest. The car turned onto her street, potholed, trash-strewn, lined with buildings held together by hope and peeling paint. The sedan looked like a spaceship that had crash-landed in the wrong dimension. The driver pulled up outside Serena's building. Serena reached for the door handle. "Thank you for the ride." "Wait." Serena froze. Lucian pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. "What's your brother's name?" Serena's heart stopped. "How do you—" "You send money every week. Western Union. Same amount. Same day." Lucian's eyes remained on his screen. "That's not a bill. That's family." Fear spiked through Serena's exhaustion. "Are you threatening him?" Lucian looked up sharply. "No." "Then why—" "Because you're taking care of someone." Lucian pocketed his phone. "And no one's taking care of you." Serena's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to let this stranger see her cry. "Ethan," she whispered. "His name is Ethan. He's 19. He's in community college." Her voice cracked. "He's good." He deserves better than what I can give him. Lucien studied her for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. He held it out. Serena stared at the card like it might bite her. "If you need anything," Lucien said quietly, "call that number." "I don't need charity." "It's not charity." Something dangerous flickered through Lucien's expression. "Consider it an investment." "In what?" Lucien's mouth curved into something too sharp to be a smile. "I haven't decided yet." Serena took the card with trembling fingers. The name embossed in silver made her blood run cold. Lucien Moretti. She'd heard that name before, whispered in the restaurant kitchen, muttered by the city's underworld. The man who owned half the city's real estate and all of its secrets. The man politicians feared and criminals obeyed. The man who made people disappear. Serena's hand tightened around the card. "What do you want from me?" Lucien reached past her and opened the door. Cold rain poured into the warm car. "Go inside, Serena. Lock your door. Get some sleep." "That's not an answer." Lucien's dark eyes locked onto hers. "I know." Serena climbed out of the car on shaking legs. She started to shrug off his jacket. "Keep it," Lucien said. "I can't." "You can. You will." His voice dropped lower. "I'll get it back eventually." The promise in those words made Serena's stomach flip. She stepped back. The car door shut. Through the tinted window, Serena could just barely make out Lucien's silhouette watching her. The sedan pulled away, disappearing into the rain like smoke. Serena stood on the cracked sidewalk clutching a business card and wearing a jacket that cost more than 3 months' rent, her heart hammering against her ribs. She should throw the card away. She should forget this ever happened. Instead, Serena walked into her building, climbed 3 flights of stairs, unlocked her apartment door, and carefully hung Lucien's jacket on the back of her only chair. Then she pulled out her phone and stared at the embossed number on the card. She didn't call. Not that night. But she didn't throw the card away either. Wook. 24 hours later, Serena arrived at work to find the restaurant manager waiting by the staff entrance with an expression somewhere between confusion and fear. "Serena, someone wants to see you." Serena's stomach dropped. "Who?" The manager swallowed hard. "He didn't give a name, but he's waiting in the private dining room, and he said if you don't come immediately, he'll buy the building." Serena's blood turned to ice. She walked through the restaurant on autopilot. The private dining room sat at the back, reserved for politicians, celebrities, people with money and power. Serena pushed open the door. Lucien Moretti sat alone at a table set for 2. He'd traded last night's rain-soaked suit for something even more expensive, midnight blue, perfectly tailored, making him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine designed to terrify and seduce simultaneously. He stood when Serena entered. "Sit." "I'm working." "Not anymore." Lucien gestured to the chair across from him. "I bought your shift." Serena's hands curled into fists. "You can't do that." "I already did." "Your manager was very accommodating." Lucien's expression didn't change. "Sit, please." The please sounded more dangerous than any threat. Serena sat. A waiter appeared immediately, different from the regular staff, moving with the efficiency of someone used to serving dangerous men. He placed covered dishes on the table and disappeared without a word. Lucien removed the covers. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, fresh bread still steaming. The kind of meal Serena couldn't afford, even with an employee discount. "Eat," Lucien said. "I'm not hungry." "Liar." Serena's jaw tightened. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you haven't eaten properly in weeks." Lucien leaned back in his chair. "And because I can." "That's not a reason." "It's the only one you're getting right now." He nodded toward the food. "Eat, Serena, or I'll feed you myself." The threat, because it was absolutely a threat, made Serena's face burn. She picked up her fork. The food tasted like everything she'd forgotten existed. Real butter, fresh herbs, protein that didn't come from a $1 menu burger. Her body screamed gratitude with every bite. Lucien watched her eat without touching his own plate. "Stop staring at me," Serena muttered. "No." "Why not?" "Because you're interesting." Serena's laugh came out bitter. "I'm a broke waitress wearing a uniform held together with safety pins. There's nothing interesting about me. You're wrong. The certainty in Lucian's voice made Serena look up. His dark eyes burned with something she couldn't identify. You're exhausted, starving, one bad week away from losing everything. But you walked up to my car last night and snapped at my bodyguard like you owned the street. His head tilted slightly. Most people who meet me can't make eye contact. You looked me in the face and told me no. That was stupid. That was brave. Lucian's voice dropped lower. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Serena set down her fork. What do you want from me, Mr. Moretti? Lucien. What? Call me Lucien. He paused. And I already told you. I don't know yet. That's not good enough. Something flickered across Lucien's face. Surprise, maybe. Like he wasn't used to being challenged. You're right, he said finally. It's not. He leaned forward. So let me be clear. I want to help you. Why? Because I can. Because you need it. Because... He stopped himself. Because what? Lucien's jaw tightened. For the first time since they met, he looked uncertain. Because when I saw you standing in the rain last night, soaking wet and furious and refusing to back down, I realized something. What? That I've spent 10 years surrounded by people who fear me, flatter me, or want something from me. His dark eyes locked onto hers. And you looked at me like I was just a man. The raw honesty in his voice cracked something open inside Serena's chest. You are just a man, she whispered. No. Lucian's smile turned sharp and sad. I'm really not. Before Serena could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and her heart stopped. Ethan. Emergency. Need to talk. Call me now. Serena's hands started shaking. She stood abruptly. I have to go. Lucian was on his feet instantly. What's wrong? My brother. Serena's voice cracked. Something happened. I need to what? Where is he? Community college, across town. The bus takes an hour. My car will take 15 minutes. Lucian was already moving toward the door. Come on. Serena's rational brain screamed warnings, but Ethan needed her. She followed Lucian out of the restaurant. The black sedan waited at the curb like it had never left. Lucian gave the address to his driver, and they pulled into traffic. Serena tried calling Ethan. No answer. Her heart climbed into her throat. He's probably fine, Lucian said quietly. You don't know that. No, but panicking won't help him. Serena turned on him. Don't tell me how to feel about my brother. Lucian held up both hands. You're right. I'm sorry. The apology caught Serena off guard. They drove in tense silence. The college appeared ahead, a sprawling campus pretending to be nicer than its funding allowed. Lucian's driver pulled up to the main building. Serena spotted Ethan immediately. He sat on the front steps, head in his hands, surrounded by scattered textbooks. 19 years old, lanky, wearing the secondhand jacket Serena bought him for his birthday. Serena threw open the car door before it fully stopped. Ethan! Her brother looked up. His face was pale, stricken. Serena ran to him. What happened? Are you hurt? I'm fine. Ethan's voice shook. But Serena, He looked past her and his eyes went wide. Holy shit! Is that Lucien Moretti? Serena turned. Lucien stood beside the sedan, hands in his pockets, watching them with that same unsettling intensity. Do you know him? Serena demanded. Everyone knows him. Ethan scrambled to his feet. Serena, what are you doing with Lucien Moretti? That's not important right now. What's the emergency? Ethan dragged his attention back to his sister. I got kicked out of my apartment. Landlord found out I've been subletting and wants 3 months back rent, or I'm gone by Friday. His voice cracked. I don't have that kind of money. Serena's stomach dropped through the pavement. 3 months rent. That was nearly $4,000. Money she didn't have. Money she couldn't get. Her vision swam. She'd worked herself to exhaustion keeping Ethan in school, keeping him fed, keeping him safe. And now it was all falling apart anyway. How much do you need? Serena spun around. Lucien stood 5 feet away, his expression unreadable. Stay out of this, Serena said through clenched teeth. How much? Lucien repeated. $3,800, Ethan whispered. But we can't. Done. Serena's heart stopped. What? Lucien pulled out his phone. Give me the landlord's information. No. Serena stepped between Lucian and her brother. Absolutely not. Serena, I said no. Her voice cracked. I don't need your charity. I don't need you to swoop in and fix my problems with money. I can handle this myself. How? Lucian's voice remained calm. Deadly calm. You're working 60-hour weeks and still can't afford food. Your shoes are held together with tape. You haven't had a day off in 3 months. He stepped closer. So tell me, Serena, how exactly are you going to find $4,000 by Friday? Serena's hands balled into fists. That's none of your business. You're making it my business. Why? Serena's voice rose. Why do you care? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. So why are you doing this? Lucian's jaw tightened. For a long moment, he didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because when I was 19, I watched my mother get evicted from our apartment because I couldn't help her, and she died 6 months later in a homeless shelter. His dark eyes burned into Serena's. So when I see someone struggling to take care of family while the world tries to crush them, I don't walk away. Not anymore. The raw pain in his voice gutted Serena completely. Ethan made a small sound behind her. Serena's entire body trembled. If you do this, what do you want in return? Nothing. Liar. Lucian's mouth curved into something too broken to be a smile. Dinner. Tomorrow night. Just you and me. No interruptions. He paused. That's my price. Serena's mind raced. One dinner in exchange for saving her brother's housing, saving his education, saving everything she'd worked years to build for him. It was too good to be true, which meant it was a trap. But what choice did she have? One dinner, Serena said finally. That's all. One dinner, Lucian agreed. He made a phone call that lasted 90 seconds. When he hung up, he looked at Ethan. Your landlord will receive a wire transfer within the hour. 3 months' rent paid in full. You can stay. Ethan stared at Lucian like he'd just witnessed a miracle. I don't know what to say. Take care of your sister? Lucian's voice hardened. She's killing herself taking care of you. Ethan flinched. Lucian turned back to Serena. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. Where are we going? Lucian's smile turned sharp. Somewhere you'll never forget. He walked back to the sedan without waiting for a response. The car pulled away, leaving Serena standing on the campus steps beside her stunned brother, her heart hammering against her ribs. Serena, Ethan whispered. What the hell just happened? Serena watched the taillights disappear into traffic. I have no idea. But somewhere deep in her chest, beneath the fear and confusion and exhaustion, something else stirred, something that felt dangerously close to hope. And that terrified her more than anything else. Serena spent the next 24 hours trying to convince herself she could still back out. She didn't own anything appropriate for dinner with a man like Lucian Moretti. Her closet contained 3 pairs of jeans, 2 work uniforms, and a black dress she'd bought at a thrift store 5 years ago for a funeral. The fabric had faded to charcoal gray, the hem was coming loose. She stood in her cramped bathroom at 6:30 p.m., staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror, hating how her hand shook while applying the only lipstick she owned. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Car will arrive at 6:50. Wear something comfortable. Serena's stomach twisted. She typed back quickly. I can take the bus. The response came within seconds. No, you can't. Serena gritted her teeth and threw on the black dress. It hung loose around her frame. She'd lost weight over the past few months without noticing. She paired it with her only decent shoes, a pair of flats with worn soles, and grabbed her jacket. At exactly 6:50, a black sedan pulled up outside her building. Different car. Same driver. Same sense of stepping into a world that didn't want her. The bodyguard opened the rear door without speaking. Serena slid inside. The partition was down this time. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Mr. Moretti asked me to give you this. He handed back a small box wrapped in black paper. Serena stared at it like it might explode. What is it? I don't ask questions, ma'am. Serena unwrapped the box with trembling fingers. Inside sat a pair of shoes, simple black heels, understated, elegant. Real leather, the kind that didn't fall apart after 3 weeks. A handwritten note rested on top. Your shoes were breaking. These won't. Something hot and sharp lodged in Serena's throat. She should be angry. She should feel insulted. Instead, she felt something far more dangerous, seen. Lucien Moretti noticed things no one else bothered to look at, and that made him more terrifying than any gun. Serena changed into the new shoes. They fit perfectly. The car drove deeper into the city, past the neighborhoods where Serena worked and lived, past the downtown high-rises, into the hills where mansions hid behind iron gates and private security. They turned onto a tree-lined drive that seemed to stretch forever. At the end sat a house that looked like it had been torn from a different century, stone and glass and sprawling gardens glowing beneath strings of lights. Not a house, an estate. The car stopped at the front entrance. The bodyguard opened Serena's door. She stepped out onto cobblestones older than her grandparents, her new shoes clicking against stone, her heart hammering so hard she could barely breathe. The front door opened before she reached it. Lucien stood in the doorway wearing dark slacks and a white shirt rolled to his elbows. No tie, no jacket. Casual in a way that somehow made him more dangerous. His eyes swept over her, quick, efficient, cataloging everything. You wore the shoes. You didn't give me much choice. Lucien's mouth curved slightly. You always have a choice, Serena. Do I? Something flickered across his face. He stepped aside. Come in. Serena walked into a foyer larger than her entire apartment. Marble floors, vaulted ceilings, art that probably cost more than she'd earn in her lifetime hanging casually on the walls like decoration. This is your home? The question came out smaller than she intended. One of them. Serena turned to stare at him. How many do you have? Does it matter? I guess not. She wrapped her arms around herself. Why did you bring me here? Because I wanted to have dinner with you, and restaurants have too many eyes. Lucien gestured toward a hallway. This way. He led her through rooms that blurred together, libraries, sitting rooms, a ballroom with crystal chandeliers. Everything screamed wealth and power and a life so far removed from Serena's reality it felt like walking through a museum. They ended up in a dining room that somehow felt intimate despite its size. A table set for two, candles. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking gardens that glowed beneath the evening sky. Lucien pulled out a chair. Serena sat because standing felt like admitting how completely out of her depth she was. Lucien took the seat across from her. A woman appeared from a side door, older, professional, moving with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd worked here for years. She placed dishes in front of them and disappeared without a word. Serena stared at the food. Fresh pasta, grilled vegetables, wine that probably cost more per glass than her hourly wage. I can't afford this, she said quietly. You're not paying. That's the problem. Lucien set down his fork. Why? Because nothing is free. Serena met his eyes. You paid my brother's rent. You bought me shoes. You brought me to your house, and you're feeding me like... Her voice cracked. What do you want from me? I told you. Dinner. Bullshit. Lucien's eyebrows rose. You don't believe me. Men like you don't do things without expecting something in return. Men like me... Lucien's voice went cold. What does that mean? Serena's hands curled into fists under the table. Rich, powerful, dangerous. The kind of man who makes people disappear when they become inconvenient. Silence dropped over the table like a blade. Lucien didn't move, didn't blink. His dark eyes burned into hers with an intensity that made her lungs seize. You think I'm going to hurt you? He said finally. I think you could. Easily. And no one would stop you. You're right. Lucien leaned forward. I could, but I won't. How do I know that? You don't. His jaw tightened. But if I wanted to hurt you, Serena, I wouldn't waste time with dinner first. The brutal honesty should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like the first real thing anyone had said to her in years. Serena picked up her fork with shaking hands. So what do you want? Lucien watched her take a bite before answering. I want to know you. Why? Because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me and saw a man instead of a monster. Serena's throat tightened. Maybe you're both. Lucien's smile turned sharp and sad. Maybe I am. They ate in tense silence. Serena forced herself to taste the food, even though her stomach twisted with anxiety. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, run, get as far from this man and this house and this life as possible. But another part of her, small, desperate, starving for something she couldn't name, wanted to stay. "Tell me about your brother," Lucien said suddenly. Serena looked up. "Why?" "Because you work yourself to death for him. I want to know why." Serena set down her fork. "Our parents died when I was 18. Car accident. I dropped out of college to take care of Ethan. He was 11. Her voice went flat. "I've been raising him ever since." 8 years. "Yeah, that's a long time to sacrifice everything." "He's my brother." Serena's voice hardened. "I don't consider it a sacrifice." Lucien studied her for a long moment. "What did you want to be before your parents died?" The question punched through Serena's defenses. She hadn't let herself think about that in years. "A teacher," she whispered. "Elementary school. I wanted to work with kids who needed someone to believe in them." "Why did you stop?" "Because dead parents and a traumatized 11-year-old don't leave much room for dreams." Lucien's expression shifted into something Serena couldn't identify. "What if you could go back, finish your degree, become a teacher?" Serena's laugh came out bitter. "With what money? What time? I can barely keep us fed." "What if money wasn't an issue?" Serena's hands clenched. "Stop." "Stop what?" "Dangling things in front of me like I'm some charity case you can fix." Her voice rose. "I don't need saving, Lucien. I need—" She stopped herself. "What?" Lucien leaned forward. "What do you need?" The question cracked something open inside Serena's chest. "I need someone to stop pretending I'm fine," she whispered. "I need someone to see that I'm drowning and not tell me to swim harder. I need—" Her voice broke. "I need one person in this world to give a damn whether I survive another week." The words hung in the air like a confession. Lucien stood abruptly. Serena flinched. He crossed to her side of the table and knelt beside her chair. Serena's breath caught. Lucien reached up slowly, so slowly she could have stopped him, and cupped her face in one hand. His palm was warm, calloused, steady. "I see you, Serena." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "I see how exhausted you are, how hard you're fighting, how much you're carrying alone." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "And I give a damn. More than I should. More than is safe." Serena's eyes burned. "Why?" "I don't know." Lucien's jaw tightened. "But I'm going to find out." He stood and walked back to his seat like nothing had happened. Serena sat frozen, her face still burning where he'd touched her. They finished dinner in silence. Afterward, Lucien led her through the house to a set of French doors opening onto the gardens. The night air hit cold and sharp. Serena wrapped her arms around herself. Lucien shrugged out of his jacket, the same move he'd made in the rain 2 nights ago, and draped it across her shoulders. "You're going to run out of jackets," Serena said. "I have more." They walked through gardens that smelled like roses and jasmine and things Serena didn't have names for. Gravel crunched beneath their feet. String lights turned everything golden. "This is beautiful," Serena admitted quietly. "My mother loved gardens." Lucien's voice went distant. "She used to say flowers were proof the world wasn't completely cruel." "Was she right?" "No." Lucien stopped walking. "But I keep the gardens anyway." Serena turned to face him. "What happened to her?" "She got sick, cancer. We couldn't afford treatment." His expression went blank. "She died 6 months after we lost our apartment." "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Lucien's eyes hardened. "It taught me everything I needed to know about the world." "What's that?" "Money is the only thing that matters. Power is the only thing people respect. And kindness gets you killed." He paused. "So I stopped being kind. I took what I wanted. I built an empire from blood and fear and violence." His voice dropped. "And I've never regretted it." Serena should be terrified. Instead, she heard herself ask, "Are you happy?" Lucien went still. The question hung between them. "No," he said finally. I'm successful, powerful, feared, but happy? His laugh came out hollow. I don't remember what that feels like. Serena stepped closer without thinking. Then what's the point? The point is survival, control, making sure I'm never helpless again. Lucien's dark eyes locked onto hers. The point is never watching someone I care about die because I couldn't save them. But you're alone. Yes. That's not surviving. That's just existing. Lucien's jaw tightened. And you're so much better? Working yourself to death for a brother who doesn't see how much you're sacrificing? Living in a crumbling apartment because you refuse to ask for help? Starving yourself so someone else can eat? The words hit like physical blows. Serena's hands curled into fists. At least I have someone worth suffering for. Do you? Or are you just terrified of being alone? Serena slapped him. The sound cracked through the garden like a gunshot. Lucien's head snapped to the side. Serena's palm stung. Her entire body shook. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Lucien looked back at her. His eyes burned. Do it again, he said softly. Serena's breath caught. What? Hit me again if it makes you feel better, if it helps. His voice dropped lower. I can take it. Serena's vision blurred. I don't want to hit you. Then what do you want? The question shattered something inside her. Serena didn't know. She wanted to stop being tired, stop being afraid, stop carrying everything alone. She wanted someone to tell her it was okay to break. She wanted... Lucien stepped closer. Serena's back hit a stone wall she hadn't realized was behind her. Lucien braced one hand against the wall beside her head, caging her in without touching her. Tell me to leave, he said quietly. Tell me you want to go home. Tell me you never want to see me again. His face was inches from hers. Say it, Serena, and I'll take you home right now. You'll never hear from me again. Serena's heart slammed against her ribs. She should say it. She should end this before it started. Instead, she heard herself whisper, I don't want to go home. Lucien's eyes darkened. What do you want? I don't know. Her voice cracked. But I'm tired of pretending I'm fine. I'm tired of being strong. I'm tired of... Lucien kissed her. Not rough, not demanding, gentle, careful. Like she was something fragile he was terrified of breaking. Serena's entire world narrowed to the warmth of his mouth, the solidness of his body, the way his hand came up to cradle the back of her head like she mattered. She kissed him back, desperate, starving, pouring 8 years of exhaustion and loneliness into the contact. Lucien made a sound low in his throat and pulled her closer. They broke apart, breathing hard. Serena stared up at him, her lips swollen, her heart racing. This is a mistake, she whispered. I know. Lucien's thumb traced her jawline. Do you want to stop? Serena's rational brain screamed yes. Her heart said something different. No. Lucien kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, like he had all the time in the world and planned to use every second learning exactly how to take her apart. When they finally separated, Serena was shaking. Lucien rested his forehead against hers. Stay. What? Tonight. Stay here. His voice roughened. Not for sex. Not for anything except sleep. He stopped himself. Just what? I don't want you to leave yet. The raw honesty gutted Serena completely. She should say no. She should go home, forget this ever happened, never see Lucien Moretti again. Instead, she nodded. Lucien led her back through the house to a bedroom on the second floor. It was smaller than she expected, still luxurious but almost human-sized. A massive bed, a fireplace, windows overlooking the gardens. This is your room? Serena asked. No, guest room. Lucien hesitated. Unless you'd rather... This is fine. Lucien nodded. He moved toward the door, then stopped. Serena. Yeah? Thank you. For staying. He left before she could respond. Serena stood alone in the guest room, her heart still racing, her lips still tingling, her entire world tilted sideways. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt something that might have been hope, and that scared her more than anything else. Yeah. Serena woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. It took her 3 seconds to remember where she was. Lucien's house. Guest room. She'd fallen asleep in her dress on top of the covers because undressing felt too intimate. Her phone showed 6:30 a.m. She had work in 2 hours. Serena climbed out of bed and padded to the door in bare feet. The house was silent. She made her way downstairs, following the smell of coffee. The kitchen was massive, all marble and stainless steel and space. Lucien stood at the counter, in dark slacks and a half-buttoned shirt, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He looked up when she entered. "You're awake." "I have work." "No, you don't." Serena's stomach dropped. "What did you do?" "Called your manager. Told him you needed the day off." Lucien held out a mug. He was very understanding. Serena's hands curled into fists. "You can't just—" "I can." "I did." Lucien's expression didn't change. "Drink your coffee." Serena wanted to throw the mug at his head. Instead, she took it because caffeine was caffeine and her body was a traitor. They stood in tense silence. "Why did you really bring me here?" Serena asked finally. Lucien set down his mug. "Because I wanted to see if you were real." "Real? Someone who looks at me and doesn't see dollar signs or fear. Someone who fights back. Someone who—" He stopped himself. "I needed to know if you were real or if I imagined it." "And?" Lucien's dark eyes locked onto hers. "You're real, and that's a problem." "Why?" "Because I don't let people get close. It's dangerous, for them and for me." His jaw tightened. "But I can't seem to stay away from you." Serena's heart hammered. "So what do we do?" "I don't know." Before Serena could respond, the kitchen door burst open. The bodyguard from the first night strode in, his expression grim. "We have a problem." Lucien's entire demeanor shifted. "What kind of problem?" "The Vitale family knows about her." Ice flooded Serena's veins. "Knows about who?" "You." The bodyguard's eyes flicked to Serena. "Someone saw you leave with Mr. Moretti last night. Word spreading." Lucien's face went blank. "Dangerous." "How bad?" "Bad enough that Marco Vitale called this morning. He wants to meet." "No." "Sir?" "I said no." Lucien's voice dropped to something deadly. "Marco Vitale doesn't get to know anything about her." Serena stepped forward. "Someone want to explain what's happening?" Lucien turned to her. For the first time since they met, she saw something close to fear in his eyes. "The Vitale family runs the East Side. They're rivals. Dangerous." His hands clenched. "If they know about you, they'll use you to get to me." Serena's blood turned to ice. "Use me how?" Lucien didn't answer. The bodyguard did. "Leverage, kidnapping, worse." Serena's legs went weak. "This is insane. I'm nobody. I'm just—" "You're not nobody to me." Lucien's voice cracked. "And that makes you a target." The words hit Serena like a freight train. She'd known Lucien was dangerous. She hadn't realized being near him could get her killed. "I need to leave," Serena said. "Right now. If they don't see me again, if we just—" "It's too late." Lucien's expression went cold. "They already know. Disappearing now makes you look guilty, makes you look important." He stepped closer. "They'll hunt you down just to see what you mean to me." Serena's vision swam. "What do I do?" "You stay close. You let me protect you." Lucien's hands came up to cup her face. "And you trust me." "I don't know if I can." "I know." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "But I'm asking anyway." Serena's phone buzzed. She pulled it out with shaking hands. "Unknown number. We know who you are. We know where you live. If Lucien Moretti wants you back, he'll meet our terms. You have 48 hours. The message included a photo. Ethan, walking across campus, unaware someone was following him. Serena's entire world shattered. "They have eyes on my brother." Lucien took the phone from her trembling hands. His expression went murderous. "Get Ethan, now." The bodyguard was already moving. "Full security detail. Bring him here." "What about my apartment, my job, my life?" Serena's voice rose to near hysteria. "I can't just disappear." "You don't have a choice anymore." Lucien's eyes burned into hers. "The moment you stepped into my car that first night, you became part of my world. And my world doesn't let people go. So I'm trapped. You're protected." Lucien's jaw tightened. "There's a difference." "Is there?" Lucien didn't answer. Serena sank into a chair, her entire body shaking. 24 hours ago, she was a waitress struggling to survive. Now she was a target in a war she didn't understand. And the man responsible stood watching her with something that looked dangerously close to guilt burning in his dark eyes. "I'm sorry," Lucian said quietly. "I should have stayed away from you. I knew better, but I couldn't." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Serena." Serena looked up at him. She should hate him. She should scream, run, demand he fix this. Instead, she heard herself ask, "Are you going to let them hurt Ethan?" "No." The word came out absolute, final. "They'll have to go through me first. And if they try," Lucian's smile turned sharp and lethal, "then they die." The brutal certainty in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, Serena felt something settle in her chest. Trust. Fragile. Dangerous. Possibly suicidal, but real. "Okay," she whispered. Lucian's eyes widened. "Okay?" "Protect my brother, keep him safe, and I'll—" Serena took a shaky breath. "I'll trust you." Lucien dropped to his knees in front of her chair. His hands gripped hers. "I swear to you, on everything I have, Ethan will not be harmed. Neither will you. And what do I have to do in return?" Lucien's jaw tightened. "Stay alive, stay close, and let me—" He stopped himself. "Let you what?" "Care about you." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Even though I shouldn't." Serena's throat closed. She cupped his face in her trembling hands. "This is crazy." "I know. We barely know each other." "I know. I should run as far from you as possible." "You should." Lucien's eyes burned. "But are you going to?" Serena stared at the dangerous, broken, terrifying man kneeling before her, and realized she'd already made her choice. "No," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." Lucien surged up and kissed her, desperate, consuming, like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Serena kissed him back with everything she had. When they broke apart, Lucien rested his forehead against hers. "This won't be easy. Nothing in my life has ever been easy. It's going to get dangerous." "It's already dangerous." Lucien's hands tightened on her waist. "You might hate me before this is over." "I might." Serena's voice steadied. "But right now, in this moment, I'm choosing to trust you. So don't make me regret it." Lucien pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you don't." The promise hung between them, fragile, impossible, terrifying. Outside, Serena heard car doors slam. Voices. Ethan's voice, raised and confused. "What the hell is going on? Where's my sister?" Lucien stood. "Your brother's here." Serena rose on shaking legs. Together, they walked to the front door. Ethan stood in the foyer surrounded by 3 bodyguards, his face pale, his eyes wide with fear. When he saw Serena, he ran to her. "What's happening? These guys showed up at campus saying I was in danger. They wouldn't let me call you. They just threw me in a car." "You're safe." Serena gripped his shoulders. "I promise, you're safe." "Safe from what?" Serena looked at Lucien. He stepped forward, his expression grim. "There are people who want to hurt you to get to me. And because your sister is—" He hesitated. "Important to me. That makes you a target." Ethan's face went white. "Oh my God. This is because of you? Because Serena got involved with you?" "Yes." "Then she needs to leave right now. We both do." "It's too late for that." Lucien's voice went hard. "They already know who you are. Where you go. Running won't save you. It'll just make you easier to find." "So what, we're prisoners?" "You're protected." Lucien's eyes didn't waver. "There's a difference." "Bullshit." Ethan turned to Serena. "Tell me you're not seriously trusting this guy." Serena's hands trembled. "He saved your housing, Ethan. He's keeping you safe now. What choice do we have?" "We always have a choice." "No." Serena's voice cracked. "We don't. Not anymore." Ethan stared at her like she was a stranger. "What happened to you?" Serena looked at Lucien, dangerous, deadly, watching her with those dark eyes that saw too much. Then she looked back at her brother. I stopped pretending I could do this alone. Ethan's expression crumpled. Serena. The front door exploded inward. Glass shattered. Wood splintered. Men in black masks poured through the opening. 5, 6, too many to count. Guns. Serena's scream died in her throat. Lucien moved. He grabbed Serena and Ethan, shoving them behind him as his bodyguards drew weapons. Gunfire erupted. Deafening. Terrifying. Serena hit the marble floor hard. Ethan crushed beneath her. Lucien's body covering them both. The world dissolved into chaos, shouting, bullets, breaking glass. Then silence. Thick, suffocating. Lucien's weight lifted off them. Serena looked up through the ringing in her ears. Bodies. Blood. 5 masked men down. Lucien stood over them, a gun in his hand she hadn't seen him draw. His white shirt splattered red. His bodyguards moved through the carnage with brutal efficiency, checking pulses, securing weapons. Lucien turned to Serena. His face was blank. Empty. The man who'd kissed her this morning had vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal and completely inhuman. Are you hurt? His voice was flat. Serena shook her head mutely. Ethan? I'm okay. Ethan's voice shook. What the fuck just happened? Lucien didn't answer. He made a phone call. Clean this up. I want every camera within 5 blocks scrubbed. No police, no witnesses. He paused. And find out who sent them. I want names by tonight. He hung up and looked at Serena. This is who I am, he said quietly. This is the world you're in now. Men will come for you. They'll try to hurt you, kill you, use you. His jaw tightened. And I will destroy every single one of them without hesitation or mercy. Serena stared at the man she'd kissed, at the blood on his hands, at the bodies cooling on his marble floor. She should be terrified. She should grab Ethan and run and never look back. Instead, she stood on trembling legs and walked straight to Lucien. She took his blood-stained hand in both of hers. Then teach me how to survive it. Lucien's eyes widened. What? If I'm in your world now, I need to know the rules. I need to know how to protect myself, protect Ethan. Her voice steadied. So teach me. Lucien stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her like she was the only solid thing in a world falling apart. Okay, he whispered against her hair. I'll teach you everything. Behind them, Ethan sat on the floor surrounded by blood and bodies and shattered glass, staring at his sister like he didn't recognize her anymore. And maybe he didn't, because the woman standing in Lucien Moretti's arms, covered in other men's blood, choosing to stay in the monster's world, that woman was someone new, someone stronger, someone willing to burn the world down if it meant protecting the people she loved, even if it destroyed her in the process. The bodies were gone by sunrise. Serena sat in Lucien's office watching men in hazmat suits scrub blood from marble floors like they were cleaning up spilled wine. Professional, efficient, horrifyingly routine. Ethan hadn't spoken to her in 6 hours. He sat across the room, arms crossed, staring at nothing. Every time Serena tried to approach him, he turned away. Lucien stood at the window with his phone pressed to his ear, his voice low and deadly. I don't care how you get the information. I want names, addresses, family trees going back 3 generations. He paused. And I want them alive. I have questions. He hung up and turned to Serena. We need to talk. Serena stood on legs that still shook. About what? About what happens next? Lucien's expression was unreadable. The men who attacked were hired guns. Low level, expendable. But whoever sent them knew exactly when to strike. They knew you were here, knew Ethan was coming. His jaw tightened. Someone close to me is feeding information to the Vitale family. Ice flooded Serena's veins. You have a traitor. Yes. Do you know who? Not yet. Lucien's eyes went cold. But I will. Ethan finally spoke from across the room. This is insane. You're talking about moles and families and hired killers, like it's normal. His voice cracked. We need to go to the police. Lucien's laugh came out harsh. The police won't help you. Why not? Because half of them are on my payroll. The other half know better than to interfere. Lucien's expression didn't change. You think the law protects people like you? It protects people like me. And when I tell them there was no attack, no bodies, no crime, they'll believe me. Ethan's face went white. You can't be serious. I'm always serious. Serena stepped between them. Stop, both of you. She looked at Lucien. What do we do? Really? No threats, no posturing. What's the actual plan? Lucien studied her for a long moment. You stay here, both of you, under guard, until I find the leak and eliminate the threat. How long will that take? Days? Maybe weeks. Weeks? Ethan shot to his feet. I have classes, work, a life. Not anymore. Lucien's voice went flat. Your life is on hold until you're safe. That's not your decision to make. Actually, it is. Lucien stepped forward. Because you became my responsibility the moment your sister walked into my world. And I don't let my responsibilities get killed. Ethan turned to Serena. Are you hearing this? He's treating us like prisoners. He's keeping us alive, Serena said quietly. At what cost? Ethan's eyes burned. Our freedom? Our dignity? When does it end, Serena? I don't know. Her voice cracked. But I know dead people don't get to worry about dignity. Ethan stared at her like she'd slapped him. Before he could respond, the office door opened. A woman stepped inside, late 20s, blonde, expensive suit, moving with the confidence of someone who belonged here. She had cold blue eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Lucien, we have a problem. Lucien's entire demeanor shifted. Isabella, what is it? Isabella's gaze flicked to Serena with something that might have been contempt. The Vitale family sent a message. They want to negotiate. No. You haven't heard their terms. I don't need to. The answer is no. Isabella's smile sharpened. They're offering a truce, complete ceasefire, all grudges erased. She paused. In exchange for one thing. Serena's stomach dropped. Lucien's expression went murderous. Say it. They want the girl. Isabella's eyes locked onto Serena. Hand her over and the war ends. Everyone goes home. No more bloodshed. Silence dropped over the room like a blade. Serena couldn't breathe. Lucien moved so fast, Isabella didn't have time to flinch. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her against the wall hard enough to crack plaster. Say that again, he whispered. I dare you. Isabella didn't struggle. Her smile didn't waver. I'm just the messenger. Then deliver this message back. Lucien's grip tightened. Anyone who comes for her dies. Anyone who suggests I hand her over dies. Anyone who even thinks about touching her. His voice dropped to something inhuman. I'll make their death last weeks. He released Isabella. She straightened her suit calmly. Understood. I'll relay your response. Isabella left without another word. Ethan stared at Lucien with something close to horror. You just threatened to torture people. Yes. And you don't see a problem with that? No. Lucien's eyes remained on the door. Because in my world, mercy gets you killed. Fear keeps you alive. Serena's hands trembled. Who was she? Isabella Romano, my head of security. Lucien's jaw tightened. And someone I'm beginning to suspect I can't trust. Why would she betray you? Money, power, revenge. Take your pick. Lucien turned to face Serena. In my world, loyalty is a commodity, and everyone has a price. Even you? Lucien's expression shifted into something raw. I did. Until I met you. The admission hung between them. Before Serena could respond, Lucien's phone rang. He answered without looking away from her. What? His expression went blank. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He hung up and looked at his bodyguard. Marco Vitale just walked into my downtown office. Unarmed, alone. He says he wants to talk. The bodyguard's eyes widened. It's a trap. Obviously, Lucien grabbed his jacket. Which is why I'm bringing an army. Serena stepped forward. Don't go. Lucien stopped. What? It's too convenient. The attack, Isabella's message. Now this. Serena's voice shook. They're baiting you, drawing you out. I know. Then why? Because if I don't show, I look weak, and weakness in my world gets you killed. Lucian cupped her face in both hands. I have to go, but I'll be back, I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed her hard and fast. Stay here. Don't leave this room. Trust no one except Marcus. He nodded toward the bodyguard by the door. Understand? Serena nodded mutely. Lucien left. The office felt colder without him. Marcus locked the door and took up position beside it. You should sit. Could be hours before he's back. Serena sank into a chair. Ethan sat across from her, still not meeting her eyes. I'm sorry, Serena whispered. For what? Dragging you into this. Ethan finally looked at her. You didn't drag me anywhere. I'm here because you've spent 8 years sacrificing everything for me. Because you put my life ahead of yours every single day. His voice cracked. I'm here because you deserve someone who protects you for once, even if that someone is a monster. Serena's vision blurred. He's not a monster. Serena, he threatened to torture people in front of us, without blinking, to protect me. That doesn't make it okay. Maybe not. Serena's hands clenched. But it's the world we're in now, and I'd rather have a monster on my side than be defenseless against everyone else's. Ethan stared at her. What happened to you? The sister I knew would never... The lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the room. Marcus moved immediately. Stay down. Don't move. Serena heard him cross to the door, heard the lock click, then heard nothing. Marcus? Serena's voice came out small. No answer. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Marcus, answer me. The door opened. A figure stepped through, silhouette only, backlit by emergency lights in the hallway. Not Marcus. Too small. Wrong posture. Isabella's voice cut through the darkness. Hello, Serena. Terror spiked through Serena's chest. Where's Marcus? Bleeding out in the hallway. Isabella's tone remained conversational. Don't worry, he'll survive. Probably. Serena heard Ethan scramble to his feet beside her. What do you want? Serena demanded. What everyone wants. Money, freedom, a life that isn't owned by Lucien Moretti. Isabella stepped closer. Serena could make out her outline now, gun in hand, pointed at the floor. And you're going to help me get it. I'm not helping you do anything. You don't have a choice. Isabella's smile was audible. Because if you refuse, your brother dies. Right here. Right now. Ethan made a strangled sound. Serena's entire world narrowed to the gun in Isabella's hand. What do you want me to do? Come with me. Quietly. No screaming, no fighting. Isabella's voice hardened. And maybe, I'll let Ethan live. Don't trust her, Ethan whispered. I don't. Serena's mind raced. But I don't have another option. Serena, take care of yourself, Ethan. Serena stood slowly. And tell Lucien, her voice cracked. Tell him I'm sorry. How touching. Isabella grabbed Serena's arm. Move. She dragged Serena toward the door. Serena looked back at her brother one last time. I love you. Serena, no. The door slammed shut. Isabella shoved Serena down the darkened hallway. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. Serena caught glimpses of Marcus slumped against the wall, blood pooling beneath him. Is he alive? Serena asked. For now. Isabella pressed the gun against Serena's spine. Keep walking. They descended a staircase Serena had never seen before, hidden, narrow, leading down into darkness. Where are we going? Somewhere your hero can't find you. Isabella's voice turned cold. Lucien thinks he's untouchable, thinks his money and violence make him a god. But gods bleed just like everyone else. And when the Vitale family delivers your corpse to his doorstep, he'll finally understand what it means to lose. Ice flooded Serena's veins. They're going to kill me. Eventually. First they'll use you. Make Lucien watch you suffer. Break him piece by piece. Isabella shoved Serena harder. I tried to warn you that first night in his office. I told him you were a liability, but he wouldn't listen. He never does. Serena's mind raced through every interaction with Isabella, every moment she'd been in the room, every conversation. You've been working with the Vitale family this whole time. Since before you showed up, Marco made me an offer Lucien never would. Partnership, equality, respect. Isabella's laugh came out bitter. Lucien thinks loyalty can be bought with fear. He's wrong. Fear just makes people better liars. They reached the bottom of the stairs. A door stood open. Beyond it, a parking garage. A black van waited with its engine running. Serena's heart hammered. Once she got in that van, she was dead. Maybe not immediately, but dead. She had one chance. Serena stopped walking. Isabella jammed the gun into her back. Move. No. I will shoot you right here. Then shoot me. Serena turned to face her. Because I'm not getting in that van. Isabella's eyes narrowed. You think you're brave? You're just stupid. Maybe, but I'm also stalling. Isabella's expression flickered. Stalling for what? For him. Lucien's voice cut through the garage like a blade. Drop the gun, Isabella. Isabella spun. Lucien stood 20 feet away, flanked by 4 armed men. His suit was splattered with blood. His expression was blank, empty. The face of a man who'd stopped being human years ago. This doesn't concern you anymore, Isabella said. She's leaving with me. No, Lucien's voice remained flat. She's not. I'll kill her. You won't. Lucien stepped forward. Because the moment you pull that trigger, my men put 30 bullets in your skull. You'll be dead before her body hits the ground. Isabella's hand trembled. You're bluffing. Am I? Lucien tilted his head. Test me. See what happens. The standoff stretched taut as a wire. Serena's heart slammed so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Then Isabella smiled. You're right. I won't kill her. She turned the gun toward Serena's leg. But I can make her scream. The gunshot cracked through the garage. Serena's leg exploded in agony. She hit the concrete hard, pain white-hot and blinding, her own scream echoing off metal and stone. More gunshots. Serena's vision blurred. She saw Isabella fall, saw blood spray, saw Lucien running toward her. Then strong hands lifted her. Lucien's face swam into focus above her. Stay with me. Serena, look at me. Serena tried to speak. Only a whimper came out. I've got you. You're safe. I've got you. Lucien's voice cracked. Someone get a fucking doctor. Now! Serena's world tilted. Lucien was carrying her, running, shouting orders she couldn't process through the pain. They reached a room, white walls, medical equipment, a table. Lucien laid her down. A man in scrubs appeared. Exit wound, clean shot, missed the artery. Fix it. Lucien's hands gripped Serena's. Fix it right now. The doctor moved with practiced efficiency. Serena felt hands on her leg, pressure, something cold. The pain spiked and she screamed. Lucien's face filled her vision. I'm here. I'm right here. Squeeze my hand, as hard as you need to. Serena gripped his hand until she thought her bones might crack. The doctor worked. Time became meaningless, seconds or hours. Serena couldn't tell. Finally, the pain receded to a dull roar. She'll need antibiotics. Rest. No weight on that leg for at least 2 weeks. The doctor stepped back. She's lucky. Another inch to the left and she'd have bled out. Lucien's jaw tightened. Leave us. The doctor left. Serena stared at the ceiling, her entire body shaking. Lucien sank into a chair beside the table. He still held her hand. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. All of it. Serena turned her head to look at him. Lucien Moretti, untouchable, feared, brutal, looked destroyed. You came back, Serena said. Her voice came out hoarse. I'll always come back. Lucien's thumb traced circles on her palm. The meeting was a setup. Marco wasn't there. Just armed guards waiting to kill me. His expression went dark. I realized what was happening and got back as fast as I could, but I was almost too late. Almost doesn't count. Lucien's laugh came out broken. You got shot because of me. I got shot because Isabella betrayed you. She was my responsibility, my hire, my failure. Lucien's grip tightened. Everyone who gets close to me gets hurt. It's a pattern, a curse. I should have stayed away from you. But you didn't. No, I didn't. His dark eyes burned into hers. And now you're lying here bleeding because I was selfish enough to want something real. Serena struggled to sit up. Pain lanced through her leg, but she ignored it. She cupped Lucien's face in both hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. Listen to me. I chose this. Every step, every decision. I chose to get in your car, chose to have dinner with you, chose to trust you. Her voice shook. And I'm choosing to stay, even now, even after everything. Do you understand? Lucien's composure cracked. Why? Because you're the first person in 8 years who made me feel like I matter. Not as a sister, not as a worker, as me. Serena's voice dropped to a whisper. Because when you look at me, I'm not invisible anymore. Lucien closed his eyes. You were never invisible. Not to me. Then stop trying to push me away. I'm trying to keep you alive. I don't want to just survive, Lucien. I want to live. Serena's hands trembled against his face. And I can't do that running from you. Lucien opened his eyes. For the first time since they met, Serena saw him completely vulnerable. I love you, he said, raw, broken, terrified. I've loved you since you snapped at my bodyguard in the rain, and that love is going to get you killed. Serena's breath caught. Then teach me how to fight back. Lucien stared at her. What? You said your world doesn't let people go. Fine. Then I need to learn how to survive in it. Serena's voice hardened. Teach me. Train me. Show me how to be dangerous enough that people think twice before coming after me. Serena, I'm not asking, Lucien. I'm telling you. Either you teach me or I figure it out myself. And we both know how that ends. Lucien's jaw worked. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. Serena's eyes didn't waver. I'm asking you to stop treating me like I'm fragile. I'm asking you to trust that I'm strong enough to stand beside you instead of hiding behind you. You don't want this life. Maybe not. But it's the life I have now. Serena's voice cracked. So are you going to help me survive it or not? Lucien studied her for a long moment. Then he leaned forward and kissed her, gentle, reverent, like she was something precious he was terrified of breaking. When he pulled back, his expression had shifted into something harder, colder, the ruthless man who built an empire from blood and fear. Okay, he said quietly, I'll teach you. But you need to understand something first. What? The woman you are right now, kind, gentle, hopeful, she won't survive what I have to teach you. His eyes burned. To become dangerous, you have to kill the parts of yourself that hesitate, that forgive, that believe in mercy. Serena's throat tightened. And if I'm not willing to do that? Then you die anyway, just slower. The brutal honesty gutted her, but Serena had already made her choice. Then let her die. Her voice steadied. Because I'd rather become a monster who survives than a saint who gets buried. Lucien's expression shifted into something that might have been pride or grief. Okay, he whispered. We start tomorrow. He kissed her again. And this time Serena tasted something dark and electric and irreversible in the contact. A promise, a threat, a beginning and an ending wrapped into one. When they broke apart, Serena looked into the eyes of the man she loved and saw her own reflection staring back, no longer invisible, no longer weak, no longer the woman who stepped into his car in the rain. Someone new, someone forged from blood and betrayal, and a love violent enough to destroy them both. And for the first time in her life, Serena wasn't afraid. She was ready. Thank you. 3 days later, Serena stood in Lucien's private shooting range deep beneath his estate. Her legs still throbbed, the bandages pulled tight with every movement. But she'd refused pain medication, refused rest, refused to wait. Lucien handed her a gun. This is a Glock 19, 15 rounds, point and shoot, simple. Serena took the weapon. It felt heavier than she expected, colder. I've never shot a gun before. I know. Lucien moved behind her, adjusting her grip. Which is why we're starting here. He guided her through the stance, the breathing, the sight picture. Now squeeze, don't pull, squeeze. Serena squeezed the trigger, the gun kicked, the bullet went wide, missing the target completely. Again, Serena fired, missed, again. Fire, miss, again. Fire, miss. Lucienne's voice remained calm, patient. You're flinching. Anticipating the recoil, stop thinking about the gun. Think about the target. Serena gritted her teeth, aimed, fired. The bullet punched through the paper target's shoulder. Better. Lucien's hand settled on her waist. But you're still hesitating. That split second before you fire, that's where you die. Serena lowered the gun. How do I stop hesitating? You stop seeing the target as a person. You see it as a threat, an obstacle, something that needs to be removed. His voice dropped. You stop caring whether it lives or dies. Serena turned to face him. Is that what you do? Every day. And it doesn't bother you? Lucien's expression went blank. It used to. A long time ago. Now it's just reflex. Serena studied the man she loved, the man teaching her how to kill without remorse. What if I can't do that? What if I can't turn it off? Then you'll hesitate. And hesitation gets you killed. Lucien cupped her face. I need you to understand something. The people coming for you, they won't hesitate. They won't care that you're scared or new to this. They'll put a bullet in your head and sleep fine that night. Serena's hands trembled. So I become like them. You become worse. Lucien's eyes burned. Because you have something to protect. And people fighting for something they love are always more dangerous than people fighting for money. Serena turned back to the target. She raised the gun. This time, she didn't think about the person the target represented. She thought about Ethan, about the men who'd attacked them, about Isabella's gun pressed against her spine. She thought about every moment in her life when she'd been powerless, invisible, prey. Serena squeezed the trigger. The bullet punched through the target's chest. Center mass, kill shot. Lucien's smile turned sharp. There she is. Serena fired again, and again, and again. Every shot found its mark. When the magazine clicked empty, Serena lowered the gun. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Lucien stepped beside her. How do you feel? Serena stared at the shredded target. Powerful, she whispered. Good. Lucien reloaded the gun and handed it back. Because tomorrow, we move to moving targets. Then hand-to-hand combat. Then tactical planning. His voice hardened. By the time I'm done with you, no one will ever make you feel powerless again. Serena met his eyes. Promise? I promise. They trained for hours. By the time Lucien finally called a break, Serena's entire body screamed exhaustion. But beneath the pain, something new burned. Purpose. They returned to the main house. Ethan sat in the living room, textbooks spread across the coffee table. He looked up when they entered. His eyes went to the gun still holstered at Serena's hip. You're serious about this, he said quietly. About becoming one of them. Serena sank into a chair across from him. I'm serious about surviving. There's a difference between surviving and becoming a killer. Is there? Serena's voice came out harder than she intended. Because from where I'm sitting, the people who survive in this world are the ones willing to fight back. Ethan's expression crumpled. I don't know you anymore. The words hit harder than any bullet. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to explain, wanted to make him understand. But the truth was, Ethan was right. The woman who'd raised him, who'd sacrificed everything to keep him safe and innocent, was dying. And in her place, something sharper was being born. I'm still your sister, Serena said finally. That hasn't changed, hasn't it? Ethan gestured to the gun, to Lucien standing behind her, to the armed guards stationed throughout the house. You're learning how to kill people, Serena. How is that the same person who used to read me bedtime stories? Serena's throat closed. Before she could answer, Lucien's phone rang. He answered. What? His entire body went rigid. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Lock it down. I'm on my way. He hung up and looked at Serena. His expression made her blood run cold. What happened? Serena asked. Marco Vitale just made his move. He hit 3 of my businesses simultaneously, burned them to the ground. Lucien's voice went flat, and he left a message. What message? Lucien's jaw tightened. He says Isabella wasn't working alone. He says there's someone else, someone close to me, Someone I trust completely. Ice flooded Serena's veins. Who? He didn't say, but he gave me 48 hours to hand you over, or he starts killing everyone I care about. Lucian's dark eyes locked onto hers. Starting with Ethan. The world tilted sideways. Serena looked at her brother, pale, terrified, clutching his textbook like a shield. Then she looked at Lucien. You have to give me to them. What? Lucian's voice cracked. No, absolutely not. If I don't go, Ethan dies. Everyone you care about dies. Serena stood. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Lucien grabbed her shoulders. I choose you. I choose to fight. I choose to burn Marco Vitale's entire empire to ash before I let him touch you. And how many people die while you're burning his empire? Lucian's grip tightened. I don't care. I do. Serena's voice rose. I'm not worth that much blood, Lucien. I'm not worth... You're worth everything. Lucien's voice broke. And I'm not giving you up. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who I have to kill. You are mine, and I will destroy anyone who tries to take you from me. The raw possessiveness in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, Serena felt something inside her chest crack wide open. She loved this broken, violent, dangerous man. And he loved her enough to watch the world burn. But Ethan didn't deserve to die for that love. Serena made her decision. Okay, she whispered. Then we end this. Tonight. We go after Marco Vitale ourselves. Lucien stared at her. You're not ready. I don't need to be ready. I just need to pull a trigger. Serena's voice hardened. You said people fighting for something they love are more dangerous. So let me fight. Let me protect my brother. Let me stand beside you instead of hiding. Lucien's expression shifted through a dozen emotions. Finally, he nodded. Okay, we end this tonight. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. Serena turned to Ethan. Her brother stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. Stay here, Serena said quietly. Lock the doors. Trust no one except Marcus. She paused. And if I don't come back? Don't! Ethan's voice cracked. Don't say that. Serena crossed to him and pulled him into a fierce hug. I love you, she whispered. Everything I've done has been for you. Remember that. Ethan clung to her. Please don't go. I have to. She pulled away before he could argue. Lucien waited by the door. Ready? Serena touched the gun at her hip. Ready. They walked out into the night together. And behind them, Ethan stood alone in a house full of strangers, watching his sister walk toward almost certain death, transformed from the woman who'd raised him into something he no longer recognized. But something that might finally be strong enough to survive the monster's world she'd chosen, even if it killed her. The black SUV tore through the city streets like a bullet escaping a gun. Serena sat in the passenger seat, her hand pressed against the Glock at her hip, watching the lights blur past her window. Her legs still throbbed where Isabella's bullet had torn through muscle. Every pothole sent fresh pain lancing up her spine. She didn't care. Lucien drove with lethal focus, one hand on the wheel, the other on his phone as he coordinated with his men. I want eyes on every entrance. Snipers on the adjacent buildings. No one gets in or out without my approval. He hung up and glanced at Serena. Last chance to back out. No. Serena, I said no. Her voice came out harder than she intended. We do this together or not at all. Lucien's jaw tightened. If something goes wrong, then we die together. Serena met his eyes. I can live with that. Lucien's expression cracked for just a moment. I can't. You won't have to. Serena's hand found his on the gear shift. Because we're not dying tonight. We're ending this. Lucien turned his hand over, lacing their fingers together. You're terrifying, you know that? Good. I learned from the best. The SUV turned onto a street lined with warehouses. Abandoned. Industrial. The kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and bodies disappeared into concrete. Lucien pulled into an empty lot and killed the engine. 3 more vehicles pulled in behind them, armored, dark, filled with men carrying enough firepower to start a small war. Lucien's entire security team. 12 men who'd kill without question if he gave the order. Marcus approached Lucien's window. His arm was in a sling from Isabella's attack, but his eyes were clear and cold. Building's been empty for 6 months, belongs to one of Vitale's shell companies. If Marco's planning an ambush, this is where he'd do it. Good. Lucien climbed out of the SUV. Then we'll give him exactly what he expects. Serena opened her door. Lucien was beside her instantly, hand on her elbow. You stay in the middle of the formation. You don't break cover. You don't engage unless there's no other option. Understand? I understand you're about to tell me a bunch of things I'm not going to follow. Lucien's eyes narrowed. Serena. Lucien. She pulled the Glock from its holster. You brought me here to fight, so let me fight. I brought you here because leaving you alone was more dangerous than bringing you with me. His voice dropped. But that doesn't mean I'm letting you throw yourself into the line of fire. You don't get to let me do anything. Serena checked the gun's magazine the way Lucien had taught her. 15 rounds, full. I make my own choices now, remember? Lucien stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her into a fierce kiss. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. If you die tonight, I burn this entire city to the ground. If you die tonight, I'll help you haunt it. Lucien's laugh came out strangled. Deal. He stepped back and addressed his men. We go in fast. We go in hard. Marco Vitale doesn't leave this building alive. Neither does anyone working with him. His voice went cold. No mercy. No prisoners. No witnesses. The men moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, strapping on body armor, dividing into tactical units. Marcus handed Serena a Kevlar vest. Put this on. Serena strapped it on over her shirt. It felt heavy, restrictive, but also solid, safe. Lucien checked her vest, tugging the straps tight. Stays on, no matter what. Yes, sir. His eyes flashed. Don't call me that. Not now. Why not? Because when you say it like that, I want to forget we're about to walk into a war zone and do very different things to you. Heat flooded Serena's face. Lucien, focus. He handed her an earpiece. Communication stays open. You hear gunfire, you get down. You see Marco, you let me handle him. You feel like you're in over your head. I won't. If you do, Lucien continued, you say the word and I pull you out. Pride doesn't stop bullets, Serena. Serena fitted the earpiece. Neither does hesitation. Lucien's expression shifted into something caught between pride and terror. You're going to give me a heart attack before this is over. Only if we survive long enough. They moved toward the warehouse. The building loomed 3 stories tall, concrete and steel and broken windows. The kind of structure that had watched decades of violence and kept every secret. Lucien's men spread out, covering every angle. Marcus tried the front door, locked. One of the men stepped forward with a breaching charge. Lucien held up a hand. Wait. He approached the door and knocked. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. The sound echoed through the empty street. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened. A man stood in the doorway. Late 50s, expensive suit, cold eyes. Gray hair slicked back from a face that had probably been handsome once before violence carved lines into it. Marco Vitale. He smiled when he saw Lucien. Right on time. I always admired your punctuality. Marco. Lucien's voice remained flat. This ends tonight. Does it? Marco's eyes flicked to Serena. And you brought the girl. How romantic. Like Romeo and Juliet, but with more guns. Serena's grip tightened on her Glock. Marco's smile widened. She's pretty, Lucien. I can see why you risked everything for her. But was she worth Isabella? Worth 3 of your best businesses? Worth the war that's about to destroy both our families? Yes. Lucien stepped forward. And I'd do it again. Marco's expression went cold. Then you're a fool. Maybe. But at least I'm a fool who dies for something that matters. Love. Marco spat the word like a curse. Love makes men weak, predictable, easily controlled. His eyes locked onto Serena. She'll be your downfall, Lucien, just like your mother was your father's. Lucien moved so fast Marco didn't have time to flinch. He grabbed Marco by the throat and slammed him against the doorframe hard enough to crack wood. Say her name again, I dare you. Marco's men poured out of the warehouse. 8, 10, 12. Guns raised. Lucian's men responded instantly. Serena found herself surrounded by a wall of armed bodies, all pointed outward, all ready to kill. The standoff stretched taut. Marco smiled despite the hand crushing his windpipe. "You're outnumbered, Lucien." "Am I?" Lucien's voice remained deadly calm. "Marcus, how many snipers do we have on the adjacent buildings?" "4, sir, all with clear shots." "And how long would it take them to kill every man Marco brought?" 12 seconds, maybe less." Marco's smile faltered. Lucien leaned closer. "You wanted a war, Marco. Congratulations. You got one. But you made one critical mistake." "What's that?" "You threatened someone I love." Lucien's grip tightened. "And men like me don't negotiate when someone we love is in danger. We exterminate the threat." He released Marco and stepped back. Marco rubbed his throat, eyes burning with rage. "You think you've won? You think killing me ends this?" "No, but it's a start." Marco's laugh came out harsh. "You're so focused on me, you haven't even noticed the real threat." His eyes flicked to Serena. "Tell me, Lucien, where's your precious brother-in-law right now?" Serena's blood turned to ice. "Ethan's at the estate, under guard." "Is he?" Marco pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen and turned it toward them. A video played. Ethan, bound to a chair, gagged, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. A figure stood behind him. Marcus. Serena's entire world shattered. "No." The word ripped from her throat. "No, that's not possible. Marcus is right here." She turned. Marcus stood 5 feet away, gun raised, pointed at Lucian's head. His expression was blank, cold, nothing like the loyal bodyguard who'd protected them for days. "I'm sorry, sir." Marcus's voice remained professional. "But Mr. Vitale made me a better offer." Lucian didn't move. "How long?" 6 months, since before the girl showed up." Marcus's eyes flicked to Serena. "Isabella recruited me, said you were getting soft, losing your edge, that it was time for new leadership." Serena's hands trembled. "You were there, you protected us. You took a bullet." "Grazed myself on purpose." Marcus's smile turned cruel. "Needed you to trust me, and you did, both of you, so completely that you never questioned why I was always in the right place at the right time." Lucian's jaw tightened. "Where's Ethan?" "Somewhere safe. For now." Marco stepped forward. "Here's how this works, Lucien. You give me the girl. You walk away. You dismantle half your empire and give me the territory. And maybe I let the boy live." Serena's vision blurred. Lucian's men stood frozen, caught between Marco's guns and Marcus's betrayal. One wrong move and everyone died. Lucien looked at Serena. His dark eyes burned with something that might have been an apology. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then he moved. Faster than Serena thought possible, Lucien grabbed her and shoved her behind him. The gunshot cracked through the air. Lucien's body jerked. Blood bloomed across his shoulder. "No!" Serena's scream tore from her throat. Chaos erupted. Lucian's men opened fire. Marco's men returned it. The warehouse district transformed into a war zone in seconds. Muzzle flashes, breaking glass, the deafening thunder of automatic weapons. Lucian stumbled but stayed on his feet. He pulled his gun and fired 3 times. Marcus went down. Not dead. Wounded. Clutching his leg and screaming. "Get her out of here!" Lucian shouted to one of his men. Strong hands grabbed Serena. She fought like a wild animal. "No, I'm not leaving you!" "You don't have a choice," Lucian's voice cracked. "Go!" The bodyguard dragged Serena backward. She watched Lucian disappear into the gunfight, bleeding, furious, fighting like a man who had nothing left to lose. Serena was thrown into the SUV. The driver gunned the engine. They tore away from the warehouse as bullets shattered the rear window. Serena twisted in her seat, watching the building recede. "Turn around! We have to go back!" "No, ma'am. Mr. Moretti's orders. Get you somewhere safe." "Safe?" Serena's laugh came out hysterical. "They have my brother. Lucian's bleeding. There is no safe." The driver's jaw tightened, but he kept driving. Serena's mind raced. Ethan was somewhere in that warehouse, bleeding, terrified, waiting for her to save him, and she was running away. "No." Serena pulled the Glock from its holster. She pressed it against the driver's head. Turn around now. The driver's eyes went wide in the rearview mirror. Ma'am, I said now. Serena's voice turned to steel. You work for Lucien. I'm the woman he loves, which means you work for me too. So unless you want to find out if I've learned to shoot as well as he taught me, turn this car around and take me back to that warehouse. The driver stared at her for 3 seconds. Then he yanked the wheel. The SUV spun in a violent U-turn and rocketed back toward the gunfight. Serena lowered the gun. Her hands shook. Thank you. You're insane, ma'am. Probably. Serena checked her magazine, still full. But I'm not leaving them behind. They screeched to a stop outside the warehouse. Gunfire still echoed from inside. Broken glass littered the ground. 2 of Lucien's men lay motionless near the entrance. Serena climbed out of the SUV before the driver could stop her. Ma'am, wait. Serena ran toward the warehouse. Every step sent pain lancing through her injured leg, but she ignored it. She burst through the door into chaos. Bodies. Blood. The acrid smell of gunpowder and death. Lucien stood in the center of the carnage, his shoulder bleeding freely, his gun raised. 3 of his men formed a protective barrier around him. Marco Vitale knelt 10 feet away, wounded, surrounded by his remaining guards. Marcus lay near the far wall, clutching his shattered leg, his face twisted in agony. Everyone froze when Serena entered. Lucien's expression shifted from fury to terror. What are you doing here? I told you to leave. And I told you I make my own choices. Serena raised her gun. Where's my brother? Marco's laugh came out wet. Dead, probably. I gave the order to kill him the moment the shooting started. Serena's finger tightened on the trigger. Wait. Marcus's voice cut through the tension. He's lying. The boy's alive. 3rd floor, northwest corner. Marco turned on Marcus. You traitorous piece of... I betrayed Lucien for money. Marcus's voice came out strained. But I'm not a child killer. The boy's alive. For now. Serena didn't wait. She ran for the stairs. Serena, stop! Lucien's voice chased her. It could be a trap. I don't care. She took the stairs 2 at a time despite her screaming leg. Behind her, she heard Lucien shouting orders. Footsteps pounding after her. Serena reached the 3rd floor. A long hallway stretched before her. Doors on both sides. Most broken. Some hanging off hinges. Northwest corner. Serena ran. The last door stood closed. Light seeped beneath it. Serena raised her gun and kicked the door open. Ethan sat bound to a chair in the center of the room. Blood matted his hair. His eyes went wide when he saw her. Serena. The word came out muffled around the gag. Serena crossed to him in 3 strides. She ripped the gag away. Are you hurt? Can you walk? I'm okay, Ethan's eyes focused on something behind her. Serena, look out! Serena spun. A man stood in the doorway. One of Marco's guards. Gun raised. Time slowed. Serena's training took over. She raised her Glock, aimed, fired. The recoil kicked through her wrist. The bullet caught the man in the chest. He dropped. Serena stared at the body. She'd just killed someone. Ended a life, crossed a line she could never uncross. Serena. Ethan's voice shook. Serena, look at me. She couldn't look away from the corpse. Serena. Lucien's hands gripped her shoulders. When had he arrived? She hadn't heard him come in. He turned her away from the body. Look at me. Focus on me. Serena's vision swam. I killed him. Yes. I killed someone. Yes. Lucien's voice remained steady. And you saved your brother. You did what you had to do. I'm a murderer. You're a survivor. Lucien cupped her face. There's a difference. Serena's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Lucien took the gun from her trembling fingers. We need to move. Now. He cut Ethan's bonds with a knife that appeared from nowhere. Ethan stumbled to his feet. What's happening downstairs? War. Lucien checked the hallway. And we're losing. As if summoned by his words, an explosion rocked the building. The floor shook. Plaster rained from the ceiling. Lucien grabbed both Serena and Ethan. Run! They bolted down the hallway. Behind them, more explosions. The building groaned like a dying beast. They hit the stairwell. Smoke poured up from below. Flames licked the walls. They're burning it down, Yen said grimly. Marco's trying to bury us all. There has to be another way out, Serena gasped. Fire escape, east side. They ran. The heat intensified with every step. Smoke burned Serena's lungs. Her injured leg finally gave out. She stumbled. Lucien caught her before she hit the ground. I've got you. He lifted her like she weighed nothing and kept moving. They burst through a window onto a metal fire escape. The night air hit cold and sharp. Below, the street had transformed into a battlefield. Lucien's remaining men exchanged fire with Marco's guards. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Down, Lucien ordered. They descended the rickety metal stairs. Halfway down, the fire escape groaned. Metal shrieked. The entire structure tore away from the building. They fell. Lucien twisted in midair, his body covering Serena's as they hit the ground. The impact drove the air from Serena's lungs. Pain exploded through every nerve. Lucien rolled off her immediately. Can you move? Serena tested her limbs. Everything hurt, but nothing felt broken. Yeah. Ethan groaned nearby. I think I sprained my ankle. Lucien pulled them both to their feet. We need to... A gun cocked behind them. Marco Vitale stood 10 feet away, his suit torn and bloody, his gun pointed at Lucien's head. It's over, Lucien. Lucien stepped in front of Serena and Ethan. Then shoot me and get it over with. Oh, I will. Marco's smile turned vicious. But first, I want you to watch her die. I want you to feel what I felt when you killed my son 5 years ago. Serena's blood turned to ice. You had a son? Antonio, 23 years old, Lucien put a bullet in his head over a territory dispute. Marco's voice cracked. So yes, I'm going to kill the woman you love, and you're going to spend whatever life you have left knowing you couldn't save her. He turned the gun towards Serena. Lucien moved, but Marco was faster. The gunshot cracked through the chaos. Serena felt the impact, hot, sharp, impossibly loud, but no pain came. She looked down. No blood. Lucien staggered. Red bloomed across his chest. No. The word ripped from Serena's throat. No, no, no. Lucien dropped to his knees. Marco laughed. Poetic, isn't it? The great Lucien Moretti, brought down by love. Serena caught Lucien as he fell. His blood soaked through her shirt, hot and slick and too much, far too much. Lucien, stay with me. Look at me. Her hands pressed against the wound, but blood poured between her fingers. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Lucien's hand came up to touch her face. His fingers left crimson streaks on her cheek. Serena. Don't say goodbye. You're not dying. I won't let you die. Serena. His voice was fading. I love you. I love you too, which is why you're going to fight. You're going to survive. Marco raised his gun again. How touching. Now you can die together. The gunshot came from behind Marco. His body jerked forward. He fell face first onto the pavement. Behind him stood Marcus, propped against the warehouse wall, gun smoking in his hand. His leg was a mess of blood and shattered bone, but his aim had been perfect. Told you, Marcus said weakly. I'm not a child killer, and I don't shoot women. He looked at Lucien. But I am loyal to the man who gave me a second chance when no one else would. Even if I'm too stupid to remember that until it's too late. Marcus's eyes rolled back. He collapsed. Serena barely registered it. All her focus was on Lucien, his breathing shallow, his skin going pale, his blood pooling beneath them both. Ethan! Serena screamed. Call 911, now! Ethan was already on his phone. Sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights painted the carnage. Serena held Lucien's head in her lap. Stay with me. The ambulance is coming. Just stay with me. Lucien's eyes found hers. If I don't make it, you will. If I don't, he continued, voice barely a whisper, promise me you'll keep fighting. Promise me you won't let them make you weak again. Tears streamed down Serena's face. I promise, but you're going to be here to make sure I keep it. Lucien's smile was faint, broken, beautiful. I knew the moment I saw you in the rain that you were going to destroy me. Then we destroyed each other. Best thing that ever happened to me. His eyes closed. Lucien? Lucien! Serena's hands pressed harder against the wound. No, you don't get to leave me. You promised. You promised you'd always come back. Paramedics swarmed around them. Strong hands pulled Serena away. She fought like a wild animal. No, let me go. I need to. Ma'am, let us work. Please. Serena watched them lift Lucian onto a stretcher. Watched them start IVs and oxygen, and a dozen other things she didn't understand. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. He's gonna make it. He has to. Serena couldn't speak. She'd crossed every line, killed a man, chosen violence over mercy, transformed herself into something hard and sharp and unrecognizable. And now the man who'd taught her how to survive in the darkness was dying in front of her. The ambulance doors closed. Sirens screamed. Serena stood in the middle of a war zone, blood-soaked, shaking, watching the ambulance disappear into the night. She'd wanted to be dangerous enough that no one would hurt her again. She'd gotten her wish. But the cost was everything, and she still didn't know if dangerous would be enough to save the man she loved. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and fear. Serena sat in a plastic chair with Lucian's blood still drying on her hands, her shirt, her face. Ethan had tried to get her to wash up. She'd refused. If Lucian's blood was still on her skin, that meant he was still alive. That meant there was still something to fight for. Ethan sat beside her with an ice pack pressed to his swollen ankle. He hadn't spoken in an hour. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Serena counted each buzz, anything to keep her mind from imagining what was happening behind those surgical doors. A doctor emerged at 3:17 a.m. Serena was on her feet before he'd taken 2 steps. Lucien Moretti, gunshot wound to the chest. He came in 2 hours ago. Is he... Her voice cracked. Is he alive? The doctor's expression gave nothing away. Are you family? Serena's throat closed. What was she? Not his wife, not his fiancée, just the woman he'd taken a bullet for. I'm the reason he's here. The doctor studied her for a long moment. He's alive, barely. The bullet missed his heart by 2 centimeters, collapsed his lung, nicked his subclavian artery. He lost a lot of blood. He paused. We managed to stabilize him, but the next 48 hours are critical. If he survives that, his chances improve significantly. Serena's legs went weak. Can I see him? He's in recovery, unconscious, won't wake for hours. The doctor's expression softened slightly. But yes, room 347, ICU, 10 minutes only. Serena didn't wait for Ethan. She ran. The ICU was quiet. Machines beeped in steady rhythms. Nurses moved like ghosts between stations. Room 347 sat at the end of the hall. Serena pushed through the door. Lucian lay motionless in the hospital bed, his skin pale against white sheets. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that breathed for him, monitored him, kept him tethered to life by the thinnest of threads. A bandage covered his shoulder and chest. An oxygen mask obscured half his face. He looked smaller than he had hours ago. Vulnerable, human. Serena crossed to his bedside on trembling legs. She took his hand. His skin felt cold. You're not allowed to die, she whispered. Do you hear me? You promised you'd always come back. You promised. Her voice cracked. So you fight. You survive. And when you wake up, I'm going to kill you myself for scaring me like this. Lucian didn't move. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Serena pressed his hand to her cheek. I love you, and I need you to stay. Please, just stay. A nurse appeared in the doorway. I'm sorry, but visiting hours... 5 more minutes. Serena didn't look away from Lucian. Please. The nurse hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. Serena spent those 5 minutes memorizing every detail. The rise and fall of Lucian's chest, the flutter of his pulse beneath her fingers, the sharp line of his jaw beneath the oxygen mask. When the nurse returned, Serena pressed a kiss to Lucian's forehead. I'll be back. I promise. She left before the tears could fall. Ethan waited in the hallway. How is he? Alive. Serena's voice came out hollow. For now. They walked back to the waiting room in silence. A police detective intercepted them before they reached the chairs. Mid-40s, tired eyes, cheap suit, the kind of cop who'd seen too much and stopped being surprised by anything. Serena Vale? Ethan Vale? Serena's entire body tensed. Yes. The detective flashed a badge. Detective Ramirez, I need to ask you some questions about what happened tonight. We were attacked, Serena said flatly. We defended ourselves. Uh-huh. Ramirez pulled out a notebook. Funny thing, we found 12 bodies at that warehouse. Most of them shot, some burned, one with a bullet in his back. His eyes locked onto Serena. You want to tell me what really happened? Serena's mind raced. She'd killed a man tonight. If she admitted that, she'd go to prison. Ethan would be alone. Lucian would wake up to find her gone. But lying to a cop could be worse. Before she could answer, a voice cut through the tension. Detective Ramirez! A man in an expensive suit approached. Late 30s, sharp eyes, moving with the confidence of someone who owned every room he entered. Thomas Garrett, Mr. Moretti's attorney. He handed the detective a business card. My clients won't be answering any questions without legal counsel present. Ramirez's jaw tightened. This is a murder investigation, and my clients are victims of a coordinated attack by the Vitale crime family. An attack, I might add, that was captured on multiple security cameras, all of which show my clients acting in clear self-defense. Garrett's smile turned sharp. So unless you're planning to arrest them right now, I suggest you direct all further inquiries through my office. Ramirez stared at Garrett for a long moment. Lucien Moretti has a lot of friends in this city. He has a lot of lawyers. There's a difference. Is there? Ramirez closed his notebook. Tell your client when he wakes up that this isn't over. Marco Vitale's death is going to have consequences. Marco Vitale was killed by his own bodyguard, also captured on camera. Also clearly not my client's fault. Garrett's expression didn't change. Have a good night, detective. Ramirez left. Serena turned to Garrett. Who are you? Lucian's lawyer. He has me on retainer for situations exactly like this. Garrett gestured toward the waiting room. Can we talk? Privately? They found an empty consultation room. Garrett closed the door and pulled out a folder. First, the good news. The police won't be charging either of you with anything. The evidence is overwhelmingly in your favor. Self-defense, clear and documented. And the bad news? Serena asked. The Vitale family didn't die with Marco. His brother Vincent is already making noise about revenge. His nephew Paolo is rallying the remaining soldiers. Garrett's expression turned grim. They're calling for blood, specifically yours. Serena's stomach dropped. So it's not over. Wars like this don't end cleanly. They just pause. Garrett opened the folder. Which brings me to why I'm really here. Lucien gave me instructions 6 months ago. If he ever ended up incapacitated or dead, I was to execute a specific set of protocols. He pulled out a document and slid it across the table. Serena stared at the paper. It was a will, Lucien's will, and her name was on it. What is this? She whispered. Lucien's final wishes, updated 3 weeks ago. Garrett's voice remained professional. In the event of his death, his entire estate goes to you. The properties, the businesses, the offshore accounts, everything. Serena's vision swam. That's impossible. We've known each other for less than a month. And yet he trusted you more than anyone in his organization. Garrett paused. There's more. He also left instructions for your protection. If he dies, a team of his most loyal men will ensure you and your brother remain safe, indefinitely. Why would he do this? Serena's voice cracked. We hadn't. He loved you. Garrett said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. And Lucien Moretti didn't do anything halfway, including love. Serena pushed the folder away. I don't want his money. I want him alive. I know. But I needed you to understand what's at stake. Garrett leaned forward. If Lucien dies, you inherit enemies along with assets, the Vitale family, rival organizations, people who will see you as a weakness to exploit or a threat to eliminate. So what am I supposed to do? Survive, just like he taught you. Garrett stood. I'll be in touch. In the meantime, don't leave the hospital. Don't talk to anyone you don't trust. And if Vincent Vitale makes contact, call you immediately. I understand. Garrett left. Serena sat alone in the consultation room, staring at a will that treated her like a widow when she'd never even been a wife. Ethan found her 20 minutes later. You okay? No. Serena looked at her brother. But I need to ask you something. What? If Lucian dies, the words tasted like poison. Do you want to walk away from all this? Go back to your normal life? Pretend none of this ever happened? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Can we do that? Really walk away? Probably not, but I'll try if that's what you want. Ethan sank into the chair across from her. A week ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. I would have begged you to run as far from Lucian Moretti as possible. He looked at his hands. But tonight, I watched you kill a man to save my life. I watched you hold Lucian while he bled out and beg him not to die. I watched you become someone I barely recognize. I'm sorry. Don't be. Ethan met her eyes. Because that person you became? She's stronger than the sister who raised me. She's fiercer, more dangerous. And if Lucian wakes up, she's going to need to stay that way to survive in his world. He paused. So no, I don't want to walk away. I want to help you fight. Serena's throat closed. You don't know what you're asking for. Yes, I do. You've been fighting for me your whole life. Let me fight for you for once. Serena pulled her brother into a fierce hug. Okay, we fight. Together. They spent the next 48 hours in that waiting room. Doctors came and went with updates. Lucian's vitals were stable. His lung was healing, no signs of infection. But he didn't wake up. Serena lived in the ICU during visiting hours. She talked to Lucian's unconscious body about everything and nothing. She told him about Ethan's classes, about the news coverage of the warehouse attack, about how Garrett was handling the business operations. She told him she loved him approximately 40 times a day. Lucian remained silent. On the third day, Serena sat beside his bed reading a book aloud, one of the classics from his library that she'd had Garrett retrieve. She was halfway through a chapter when Lucian's fingers twitched. Serena's heart stopped. Lucian? His eyes opened slowly, unfocused, struggling. Serena pressed the call button and leaned over him. Hey, you're okay. You're in the hospital. You got shot, but you're okay. Lucian's gaze found hers. His mouth moved behind the oxygen mask. Serena gently removed it. What is it? You're still here. His voice came out rough, broken. Of course I'm still here. Serena's vision blurred. I told you I wasn't going anywhere. You should have run. Too late. I'm stuck with you now. Lucian's smile was faint. Poor choice. Best choice I ever made. The nurse burst in. He's awake? Dr. Park needs to examine him immediately. They descended on Lucian with tests and questions and procedures. Serena stepped back and let them work, but she didn't leave the room. And when Lucian's eyes found hers across the chaos, she saw something in them that made her chest ache. Relief. Not that he'd survived, that she had. The doctor finished his examination an hour later. Remarkable recovery. I want to keep him another week for observation, but barring any complications, he should make a full recovery. Lucian waited until they were alone before speaking. What happened after I went down? Marcus shot Marco. Saved our lives. Serena moved back to his bedside. Then he collapsed. He's 3 floors down, shattered leg, but he'll live. Marcus. Lucian's expression hardened. He betrayed me. And then he saved me, saved Ethan, killed the man who would have murdered us all. Serena's hand found his. People are complicated, even traitors. Lucian studied her for a long moment. You've changed. So have you. You almost died. Not the first time. Probably not the last. His grip tightened on her hand. But it is the first time I had something worth surviving for. Serena's throat closed. Lucian, marry me. The words hung in the air. Serena stared at him. What? Marry me. Lucian struggled to sit up. Serena tried to push him back down, but he was stronger than he looked. I know it's insane. I know we barely know each other. I know I have nothing to offer you except violence and danger and a life where people will always be trying to kill you. His voice cracked. But I love you. And I'm asking anyway. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. You're on painkillers. You don't know what you're saying. I've never been more clear-headed in my life. Lucian's dark eyes burned into hers. The moment I woke up, the first thing I thought was that I'd wasted time, that I'd almost died without making you mine completely. And I can't live with that. Lucien, we need to think about this, plan, figure out. I don't want to plan. I want to marry you, today, tomorrow, as soon as possible. His hand came up to cup her face. Say yes, Serena, please. Serena looked at the man who dragged her into his brutal world, who taught her to shoot, to fight, to survive, who'd taken a bullet meant for her without hesitation, who looked at her like she was the only thing in the universe worth protecting. She should say no. She should be smart, careful, rational. Instead, she heard herself whisper, yes. Lucien's expression cracked wide open. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. You insane, reckless, beautiful disaster of a man. Yes. Lucien pulled her down and kissed her, gentle at first, then deeper, like he was trying to prove to himself she was real. When they broke apart, Serena was crying. I love you, she whispered, and I'm terrified that's going to get us both killed. Then we die together. Lucien's thumb brushed away her tears. But I'd rather spend one day as your husband than a lifetime as anything else. Serena laughed through her tears. You're going to be stuck in this hospital for at least a week. Then we get married here. Lucien, I'm serious. Garrett can get a license. We'll find a priest. He stopped himself. A judge. We'll find a judge who'll come here, and we'll do this right. Serena wanted to argue, but the desperate hope in his eyes stopped her. Okay, she said quietly. We'll get married here, in a hospital room, while you're still connected to machines, because apparently we do everything the hard way. Lucien's smile could have lit the entire city. I wouldn't have it any other way. 5 days later, Serena stood in Lucien's hospital room wearing a simple white dress that Garrett had somehow procured overnight. Ethan stood beside her in a borrowed suit, his ankles still wrapped, but healing. Lucien sat propped up in bed, his chest still bandaged, his color finally returning. A judge stood at the foot of the bed with a small folder containing their marriage license. No flowers, no music, no guests beyond Ethan and Garrett, just two people who'd found each other in the rain and refused to let go even when the world tried to tear them apart. The judge cleared his throat. Dearly beloved, skip to the vows, Lucien interrupted. I don't have time for speeches. The judge raised an eyebrow but complied. Do you, Lucien Moretti, take Serena Vale to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. And do you, Serena Vale, take Lucien Moretti to be your lawfully wedded husband? Serena looked into Lucien's dark eyes and saw her entire future reflected back, dangerous, unpredictable, probably short, but real, and hers. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The judge closed his folder. You may kiss the bride. Lucien pulled Serena down and kissed her with everything he had. When they broke apart, Serena was laughing and crying simultaneously. We just got married in a hospital room. Best wedding ever. Lucien's thumb traced her jawline. You're stuck with me now, Mrs. Moretti. The name hit Serena like a physical blow. Mrs. Moretti. Not Serena Vale anymore, someone new. Someone forged from blood and bullets and a love fierce enough to survive anything. Ethan hugged her tight. Congratulations. You married a crime boss in a hospital. Mom and Dad would be so confused. Serena laughed. They'd probably love him. He's stubborn enough to match our family. Garrett shook Lucien's hand. Congratulations, sir. I'll file the paperwork immediately. Good. And Garrett? Lucien's expression turned serious. I want Vincent Vitale's operations shut down within the month. No mercy, no negotiation. He threatened my wife. That ends now. Garrett nodded. Consider it done. After everyone left, Serena climbed carefully into the hospital bed beside Lucien. He wrapped his good arm around her. This is highly against hospital policy. So is getting married in your room. We're on a roll. Lucien's laugh rumbled through his chest. What happens now? Serena was quiet for a moment. We survive. We build something together. We protect Ethan. We make Vincent Vitale regret ever threatening us. She paused. And we try to find moments of peace in between all the violence. Sounds impossible. Good thing we're both too stubborn to accept impossible. Lucien pressed a kiss to the top of her head. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret saying yes. You already saved my life multiple times. I think we're even. We're not even close to even. But I'll take a lifetime trying. Serena closed her eyes and listened to Lucien's heartbeat. Steady, strong, alive. They'd crossed every line, killed and been shot, betrayed and been betrayed, lost themselves and found each other in the wreckage. And somehow, impossibly, they'd survived. Not unscathed. Never unscathed. But together. And in Lucien Moretti's brutal world, that was the closest thing to a happy ending either of them would ever get. Ish. 6 months later, Serena walked through the garden behind the estate where she now lived. White roses bloomed along every path, Lucien's mother's favorite. He'd expanded the gardens since the wedding, said they reminded him that beauty could exist even in darkness. Serena's leg had healed completely. The scar from Isabella's bullet was a thin silver line she barely noticed anymore. The psychological scars ran deeper. She still woke sometimes from nightmares about the warehouse, about the man she'd killed, about Lucien bleeding out in her arms. But Lucien was always there when she woke. Solid, real, pulling her close and whispering that they were safe. Safe was a relative term in their world. Vincent Vitale had tried 3 more attacks in the months following the wedding. All failed. The last one ended with Vincent fleeing the country and his organization in shambles. The Moretti Empire was stronger than ever, and Serena had learned to navigate it. She attended meetings now, offered strategic advice, made decisions about territory and alliances. The men who worked for Lucien had learned quickly that disrespecting his wife was a fatal mistake. She'd become exactly what she needed to be, dangerous. But she'd also kept pieces of herself that mattered. She'd re-enrolled in school, part-time, online classes, working toward that teaching degree she'd abandoned 8 years ago. Lucien attended every milestone with shameless pride, the fearsome crime boss sitting in the back of virtual classrooms, watching his wife present papers on child development. Ethan had transferred to a better college. Full scholarship arranged by Garrett, he visited every weekend, still uncomfortable with Lucien's world but learning to accept it. Learning to accept that his sister had changed into someone stronger. Serena heard footsteps on the gravel path behind her. She turned. Lucien approached wearing dark slacks and a white shirt, his shoulder fully healed, moving with that same lethal grace that had terrified her the first night they met. Now it just made her pulse quicken for entirely different reasons. "You're supposed to be resting," Serena said. "I got bored." Lucien wrapped his arms around her from behind. "And I missed my wife. You saw me an hour ago. An hour too long." Serena leaned back against his chest. "You're ridiculous. You married me anyway. Worst decision of my life. Liar." Lucien pressed a kiss to her neck. "You love me." "Unfortunately." Serena turned in his arms. "How did the meeting go?" "Paolo Vitale wants to negotiate. He's tired of running, wants to call a truce." Lucien's expression remained neutral. "What do you think?" Serena studied her husband's face. 6 months ago, he would have made this decision alone. Now he asked her opinion on everything, equal partners in violence and peace. "I think Vincent is still out there, still angry, still dangerous." Serena's voice steadied. "But I also think endless war destroys everyone eventually. If Paolo is genuinely offering peace, we should take it. Even if it means letting some of the people who tried to kill you walk free?" "Even then." Serena's hand came up to cup Lucien's face. "I'm tired of watching you come home covered in blood. I'm tired of sleeping with a gun under my pillow. I'm tired of war." Lucien's eyes searched hers. "You've gone soft on me, Mrs. Moretti." "No. I've just realized that surviving isn't the same as living, and I want to live. With you. For as long as we have." Lucien pulled her closer. "Then we make peace. On our terms. With conditions. Always conditions with you. I'm a crime boss. It's in the job description." Serena laughed. "What happened to the terrifying man who threatened to torture people for looking at me wrong?" "It is possible." "He fell in love with a broke waitress who refused to be afraid of him." Lucien's voice dropped. "And she ruined him for anything else." Serena rose on her toes and kissed him. They stood in the garden surrounded by roses and the ghosts of everyone they'd lost and everyone they'd killed to get here. Not a fairy tale ending, but real. Messy and violent and beautiful in its own broken way. When they finally separated, Lucien took Serena's hand. Come on, I have something to show you. He led her through the gardens to a part of the estate she'd never seen before. A small building sat hidden among the trees, stone and glass, new construction. Lucien opened the door. Inside was a library, floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with children's books, small tables and chairs, art supplies, a reading nook with soft cushions. Serena's breath caught. What is this? Your classroom. Lucien's voice was quiet. When you finish your degree, I thought... He paused. I thought you could teach here. Kids from the neighborhood. Ones who need someone to believe in them. Serena's vision blurred. You built me a school. I built you a future that doesn't involve bullets and blood. Lucien's hands settled on her shoulders. You gave up your dreams to survive. I wanted to give you a chance to get them back. Serena turned and threw her arms around him. Lucien held her while she cried into his chest. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me, for believing I could be more than just a survivor. You were always more. Lucien's voice roughened. I just helped you remember. They stood together in the empty classroom that represented everything Serena had lost and everything she'd fought to reclaim. A week later, Lucien signed a peace treaty with Paolo Vitale. The war ended. Not cleanly, not perfectly, but it ended. Serena stood beside Lucien during the signing, her hand resting on the gun holstered beneath her jacket, just in case. But no violence came, just signatures and handshakes, and the fragile beginning of something that might eventually become peace. Months turned into a year. Serena finished her degree. She opened the school in the garden, started with 5 kids, then 10, then 20. Children who reminded her of herself. Hungry, exhausted, invisible to everyone except the one teacher who refused to look away. Lucien attended every school event, helped with fundraising, scared off anyone who threatened the kids or the program. The fearsome crime boss who'd built an empire from violence now spent his afternoons reading picture books to 8-year-olds who had no idea how dangerous he was. Ethan graduated college and started law school. He visited often, still wary of Lucien's world but no longer trying to pull Serena out of it. He'd accepted that his sister had found something worth fighting for, someone worth transforming for. Marcus recovered fully. Lucien offered him his job back. Marcus refused, said he didn't deserve it. Lucien gave him a position in a legitimate business instead. A second chance he'd never expected. Some betrayals could be forgiven. Some couldn't. But mercy, Serena had learned, was its own kind of strength. 2 years after the night in the rain, Serena woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom windows. Lucien slept beside her, one arm thrown across her waist, his breathing steady and peaceful. Serena studied his face in the morning light. The sharp angles had softened slightly. The permanent tension around his eyes had eased. He was still dangerous, still brutal when necessary, still the man who'd threatened to burn the city down for her. But he was also the man who read to children, who expanded the rose garden because flowers reminded him beauty existed, who looked at his wife like she was the only miracle he'd ever believed in. They destroyed each other and rebuilt something better from the wreckage. Lucien's eyes opened. You're staring. You're beautiful when you sleep. I'm beautiful always. His smile was lazy, warm. You're just biased because you married me. Worst decision of my life. You keep saying that. I'm starting to think you mean it. Serena leaned down and kissed him. I absolutely don't mean it. Good. Because you're stuck with me. Lucien pulled her closer. Forever. No escape. Till death do us part, and probably long after. Promises, promises. They lay together in the quiet morning, wrapped in sheets and sunlight, and the peace they'd fought so hard to earn. Outside, the city was waking up. The empire Lucien had built continued running with brutal efficiency. Threats still existed in the shadows. Danger still waited around every corner. But inside this room, in this moment, there was only the two of them. A broke waitress who'd learned to be dangerous. A ruthless crime boss who'd learned to be gentle. Two broken people who'd found each other in the rain and refused to let go, even when the world tried to tear them apart. Serena's hand drifted to her stomach, where a small secret was just beginning to take shape. She hadn't told Lucien yet, wasn't sure how he'd react to the news that they were going to be parents. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Their child would never feel invisible, never feel powerless, Never wonder if they mattered, because Lucian and Serena had both learned the hard way what it meant to survive without being seen. And they would die before letting their child experience that pain. "What are you thinking about?" Lucian asked quietly. Serena looked at her husband, her partner, her equal, the man who'd taught her to fight, and then given her something worth fighting for. "The future," she said. "And?" "I think it's going to be terrifying, dangerous, probably short." Lucien's expression shifted. "That's a depressing thought." "I'm not finished." Serena's hand found his. "I think it's going to be all those things, but I also think it's going to be ours. And that makes it worth every risk." Lucian studied her face. "There's something you're not telling me. There's a lot I'm not telling you." "Serena." She took a deep breath. "I'm pregnant." Lucian went completely still. For a long moment he didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even seem to breathe. Then his hand moved to her stomach, gentle, reverent, shaking slightly. "You're pregnant," he repeated, like he was testing the words. "About 6 weeks. I found out yesterday. I was waiting for the right time to—" Lucian kissed her, hard, desperate, pouring everything he couldn't say into the contact. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. "We're having a baby." "Yes." "A child. Ours." "Yes." Lucian's laugh came out broken. "I don't know how to be a father. My own father was—" He stopped himself. "I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. I barely kept Ethan alive, and he was already 11 when I started." Serena's hand covered his on her stomach. "But we'll figure it out. Together. The same way we figured out everything else. By nearly dying and making terrible decisions?" "Exactly." Lucian pulled her into his arms. "I'm going to be a disaster at this." "Probably. But you'll be a disaster who loves our child completely, and that's all that really matters." They lay together planning a future that should have been impossible. A crime boss and the woman he'd dragged into his world, about to bring a child into the same violence and darkness they'd barely survived. It was reckless, dangerous, probably the worst idea they'd ever had, but they were going to do it anyway. Because Lucian Moretti and Serena Vale, now Serena Moretti, had never done anything the safe way. They'd found each other in the rain, fallen in love in the middle of a war, gotten married in a hospital room. Of course, they'd raise a child in the same chaotic, beautiful, terrifying way. And somehow, impossibly, that child would be loved more fiercely than any child in history. Protected by a father who would burn the world down to keep them safe. Raised by a mother who'd learned that surviving wasn't enough. You had to fight for the right to actually live. Months later, Serena stood in the garden holding their daughter. 3 weeks old, tiny, perfect. With Lucien's dark eyes and Serena's stubborn expression. They'd named her Elena, after Lucien's mother. Lucien stood beside them, one arm around Serena, one finger held in Elena's tiny fist. The fearsome crime boss looked absolutely terrified. "She's so small," he whispered. "What if I break her?" "You won't." "What if someone tries to hurt her?" "Then we destroy them. Together." Serena leaned into him. "We've fought off crime families. We've survived bullets and betrayals. We can handle one tiny baby." "I'm not so sure about that." Lucian's voice cracked. "She's scarier than any enemy I've ever faced." Serena laughed. "Good. That means she's already stronger than both of us." Elena made a small sound. Lucien's entire face transformed. "Did you hear that? She made a noise. Babies do that. But she's so small and she made a noise and—" Lucian stopped himself. "I'm being ridiculous. You're being a father. There's a difference." They stood together in the garden, surrounded by roses planted by a woman who'd believed beauty could exist in darkness. She'd been right. Not because the darkness disappeared, but because people like Lucian and Serena refused to let it win. They'd carved out moments of light in the shadows, built something real from blood and bullets and a love violent enough to survive anything. Their daughter would grow up knowing her parents had fought for her before she even existed, that they'd transformed themselves into people strong enough to protect her. That love wasn't gentle or easy, but it was worth every sacrifice. She'd grow up in a world where danger lurked around every corner, but she'd also grow up knowing she was loved, seen, worth fighting for, and that made all the difference. Ethan arrived an hour later to meet his niece for the first time. He held Elena carefully, his eyes wide. She's so tiny. You were tiny once too, Serena said. Yeah, but I didn't have a crime boss for a father. Lucian raised an eyebrow. Uncle. You're her uncle. I'm her father. Get your felonies straight. Ethan laughed. Right. My mistake. They sat together in the library classroom Lucien had built. The uncle, the father, the mother, and the baby who represented everything they'd fought to protect. A family forged from tragedy and violence and impossible choices. Not perfect, never perfect, but real. And theirs. And worth every scar they'd earned to keep it. That night, after Ethan left and Elena finally fell asleep, Serena and Lucien stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The light stretched out before them, thousands of lives, thousands of stories, thousands of moments of joy and pain and everything in between. Somewhere out there, the Vitale family was regrouping. New enemies were rising, old grudges were festering. The danger would never completely disappear. But standing here with Lucian's arm around her shoulders, their daughter sleeping safely inside, Serena finally understood something fundamental. Surviving wasn't about eliminating every threat. It was about finding something worth fighting for, something worth bleeding for, something worth transforming yourself to protect. For Lucien, that something was Serena and Elena. For Serena, it was Lucien and the family they'd built from wreckage. For both of them, it was the fierce, terrible, beautiful knowledge that they were no longer alone. What are you thinking? Lucien asked quietly. Serena looked at the man who'd stepped out of a car in the rain and somehow learned every secret of her heart in 3 seconds. The man who'd taught her to be dangerous and then given her something worth being dangerous for. The man she'd married in a hospital room and built a life with against all odds. I'm thinking about that night, she said, when you pulled up outside the restaurant and ordered me into your car. And you told me no. And you gave me a choice anyway. Serena turned to face him. Do you ever regret it? Choosing me? Dragging me into your world? Lucien's expression turned serious. Every day. Serena's heart clenched. Oh. Every day, Lucien continued, I wake up and see you beside me and think about how my selfishness nearly got you killed, how my world has scarred you, how your life would be easier if you'd never met me. His hand came up to cup her face. And then you open your eyes and look at me like I'm worth loving. And I realize I do it all again. Every terrible decision, every dangerous moment, every line we crossed. Serena's vision blurred. Why? Because you're the only thing in my life that's real. The only thing worth protecting. The only thing that makes me human instead of just a monster in expensive suits. Lucien's voice dropped. I was dying long before that bullet hit me, Serena. I just didn't know it. You saved me, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that. Serena kissed him with everything she had. When they broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his. We saved each other. That's how this works. That's how we survive. Together. Always together. They stood on the balcony watching the city sleep, holding each other against the darkness that would always be waiting. But the darkness felt smaller now, more manageable, because they'd learned the secret that Lucien's mother had known all along. Beauty could exist even in the darkest places. Hope could survive even the most brutal violence. Love could transform even the most broken people into something worth fighting for. And sometimes, just sometimes, a broke waitress standing in the rain could meet a dangerous man in an expensive car. And instead of running away from the monster, she could choose to stand beside him, to fight with him, to love him, to build something real from blood and bullets and impossible odds, to survive together when the world said they should die apart. That was the real miracle. Not that they'd survived, but that they'd found each other in the first place. Two people who should never have met, should never have fallen in love, should never have built a family. But did it anyway. Because sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the only one worth making. And Serena Moretti, formerly Serena Vale, formerly invisible, formerly powerless, had learned to make the dangerous choice. Every single time. Without hesitation. Without regret. Without looking back at the woman she used to be. Because that woman had died in the rain the night she stepped into Lucien's car. And in her place, someone stronger had been born. Someone who could love a monster and see the man underneath. Someone who could kill to protect and still find beauty in roses. Someone who could survive in the darkness and still believe in light. The world would keep trying to destroy them. They would keep fighting back. And in the moments between battles, they would hold each other and remember why they were fighting in the first place. Love. Fierce and terrible, and worth every drop of blood they'd spilled to earn it. That was their story. Beginning in rain and ending in roses. Forged from violence and sealed with vows. Broken and beautiful and completely, impossibly real. And it was theirs, forever.